All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to our Nurgle competitive guides. This is going to be a video where we break down Nurgle as a faction overall. What we're going to be doing is going over every single unit. So we're going to look at every single unit in the roster. I'm going to talk about their niche applications. Is this unit good? Is it bad? Should you avoid it? And once we've done that, we're just getting started. We're going to then go through and give you a build for every single matchup. And for the builds that we don't have, or for the matchups we don't have builds in yet, what we're going to be doing is actually building them here live on stream. So this is going to be uploaded to YouTube later. And of course, we are streaming this over on Twitch. So if you guys are interested in seeing us do our build guides live and you want to kind of be part of the process and ask questions, make sure to head over to our Twitch channel. And then eventually it'll be uploaded to YouTube as well. So yeah, it's going to be good. So somebody in chat, Dark Age, saying, excited to see if Turin has embraced the Rotfly or still denies them. Still deny them. I would still deny them. I've had a very, very good run with Nurgle. I think in my last two tournaments, I maybe, 8 wins and 3 losses or something with Nurgle, and not a single Rotfly has been used except the Angels of Decay. So I think we're gonna probably still avoid them. So let us begin by our roster breakdown. Firstly, we have the Chaos Lord of Nurgle. He's very good. The Rot Beast mounts that we got in the Thrones of Decay expansion really gave a lot of sauce to Nurgle characters in general, which, the Exalted Heroes, Kha'Zix, all these bad boys. It's incredibly strong. So typically what I would recommend with this guy, there are some really weird niche applications where you bring him on a chariot if you're trying to deal with, let's say a Valkyria type character or, an infantry based characters. It could be like White Kings on foot, whatever. But typically you want to bring the Nurgle Lord on the Rot Beast. It's so freaking good. Now you can keep Paragon of Decay in matchups against Vampire Counts, things like that, where there's going to be big blob fights. But typically the Chaos Lord of Nurgle is going to be moving around in kind of a Goon Squad style tactic. So I would usually cut this. You can keep Deadly Onslaught if you want to, but I often cut it. Rot or Die is actually very good. 20 damage reflection can be a big game changer. If you're facing Khorne, this is really powerful, because you use the Curse of the Leper to basically put the damage reflection against Wrathmongers and punish them. And then you can use this character to add another 20. So for example, if you have the Chaos Lord and then you have the Blisterback Nurglings, the Frolickers Bubonic, they have a base damage reflection of, I think it's let's see what it is. It's 10. Yeah, you can put them up to 30, which is very good. It's actually quite strong. So good strategy there from this guy. The Icon of Eternal Virulence, again, if you're expecting a blob fight, it's very good. You can bring Paragon of Decay and the Icon and really start stacking some nasty debuffs. But again, it's very matchup dependent. If you're expecting that you're on a map, you have a safe home objective, just chilling. It's just home, it's comfortable. You're fighting over the middle, mostly against another melee centric faction or somebody who wants to go fisticuffs with you there. Bring these debuffs. Otherwise, not so much. Now, Father of Blades is okay. It buffs you and debuffs your enemy. It's all right. Yeah, I'd say if you have a little bit of extra money, you can bring it. It's not the worst thing. But the Chaos Lord is a good pick, and you're probably going to see him in a couple of the builds that we provide you with today. So next up, we do have Epidemius. Epidemius is incredibly niche. Hey, and thank you, Cash Salad, for subscribing with Prime. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Epidemius is incredibly niche. He has some really nice synergies with Nurgle in general, where, Nurgle builds up its army ability by getting the spreading all the nastiness. So with the Epidemic Outburst and some of his other goodies like the Sands of Sickness, which again is another cool tech, the damage reflection, the vigor buff, and debuffing your opponent's melee defense is very good. So Tallyman, I think, niche applications in a couple matchups. Overall, his big gimmick is using the Tally of Pestilence, which gives up to 15 melee attack and physical resist, 20% phys res to your demons. It's tricky, right? Because demons are very good and I think do make the core of your infantry often, but it's so niche. I have won competitive games with him. He's good on maps. If the matchup calls for Plague Bearers, okay? So if you're in a matchup where you have Plague Bearers being very good and it's going to be a brick fight, and they just have to engage you in this one area, he's very actually quite strong. Unfortunately, like where demons are good is often against factions like Vampire Counts, where you want to bring an Exalted Great Unclean One or Kugath. But yeah, Epidemius is useful. I don't think he's bad. I just think he's incredibly niche. Incredibly niche. So yeah, his abilities, Tally of Pestilence, Epidemic Outburst is pretty okay. It does apply a big slow of 80%, which is good. Yeah, and you can plop him down. He's got 8,000 HP. He's got good AP. He can fight in hard positions and do some decent work. So next up, we have Tamerchad. Now, Tamercon is one of my favorite lords for Nurgle, not only thematically, but competitively. Having him on his Toe Dragon is an excellent 12,000 HP counter against much of the Khorne roster. He can smash Valkia, he can smash any of the Khornate characters, really. He beats the Wrathmongers very decisively with good cycle charging. And on top of that, Tamarkon on foot is excellent in a ton of matchups against Norska, against most of the other Chaos factions, against Greenskins, really good. He's got a leadership debuff of -4. He's got a ward save if he gets trapped, and he also has a big AoE buff, which is really nice against Savage Orc units because it gives magic damage and melee attack. Tamarkon, I think, is sleeper very good. I think that's one thing. A lot of Nurgle players I've watched, which there's not very many of them, but I think that they have neglected Tamarkon in the competitive for sure. Yeah, Direwolf, welcome to the stream. Yeah, what we're going to be doing here, the format going forward, will be obviously all the big tournaments going to be on YouTube and on Twitch and whatnot. But we're also going to be doing like build guides live so we can chat and then upload them to YouTube later. Because this is going to be a short video, so I thought it was a little bit better for a short stream, I guess. So it'd be a little bit better for Twitch. Yeah. But Tamarkon is very, very good. I'm a big Tamarkon enjoyer. Now, Heralds of Nurgle are okay. I think they're one of the weaker options, simply because they only have 30 armor and a pretty low HP pool and are quite expensive. So I just don't enjoy him too much. I think maybe against like Tzeentch Demons of Chaos, having him flying around on a Rotfly with like Lore of Death to cast Fate Abuna while also having a bound healing ability is good. But at the end of the day, I think he's a little bit too squishy, a little bit too expensive. I would say maybe 1 or 2 matchups in competitive play are good for the Herald of Nurgle. Because the problem is, if you want to get your caster, the generic Nurgle caster lord, the Sorcerer Lord, is super good. He has passive healing and is cheap, comparatively speaking. And you also have like the basic Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle, 80 armor, right? 80 armor is really big, and again, is more cost effective. So yeah. Hey, Rafe, thanks for subscribing with Prime. Greatly appreciate it. Can we get one for every faction? Yeah, we will. And eventually what I'm going to do is for factions I don't really know well, we're going to have other people come on and join me. Yeah, and they can talk with me. All right, so Festus the Leech Lord. He's the old terror of the meta. Has kind of fallen off. There's a lot of factions that like to bully, bring a big like King Lewin or, some sort of a Bale Taurus. He's pretty vulnerable to being sniped. Despite being like, a Nurgle character with 6,000 HP and 50 MD, he can be sniped out. But I would say that he's still an A-tier character. He has a toggle ability between Mortis Engine and a healing engine. He's got a Lore of Nurgle, which is very, very good, obviously, and Children of Nurgle as well. So yeah, Festus is good. You guys have seen him in competitive. He's good in a lot of matchups. If you're playing a matchup where you want a Mortis Engine that's low to the ground and you don't need to worry about him being hunted by a big monster, pretty damn good. You can also bring like a couple of Exalted Champions to team up with him, and they can do some good work. So next up, we have the Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle. This is, I think, probably one of the best, most competitive Lord choices on the roster because you put him on a Rot Beast and he suddenly becomes like an A-tier fighter. Very, very good. He's huge armor piercing, poison, great stats, and he has some really good bound items, namely the Crown of Everlasting Conquest. There's kind of 2 tiers of healing in competitive Total War. There's the 0.10 and there's the 0.2. 0.2 is the good stuff. That is like the sauce that everybody kind of lives about. It's very, very good. So the Crown of Everlasting Conquest, just chef's kiss. It's very, very good. So yeah, this character is probably the most meta Nurgle Lord for a reason. He's very, very good. So next up, we have the Demon Prince of Nurgle. Now, this guy is actually pretty good. He does have big HP. Low armor is the only downside, but he has an incredible hybrid lore of magic and good combat stats to boot. Like, he can go fisticuffs. He's got Fleshy Abundance, Buna, Curse of the Leper, Spirit Leech, like really, really good spell options. I think that there is a vast portion of the meta where the Demon Prince of Nurgle is massively unexplored. I think that he has a lot of potential because like Lore of Death and Lore of Nurgle are 2 of the best lores in the game. Like, and Buna is super good, Spirit Leech is super good. I honestly think using him against like Warriors of Chaos and factions where you're expecting like a really powerful lord that doesn't have great healing, like Archaon, unless they bring a Nurgle caster, of course. Spirit Leech Bam, and then just like Fleshy Abundance to keep this guy alive. He does have some nice bound abilities. Stream of Corruption, he's got 2 free Stream of Corruptions, which is very nice. I would say probably an optimal kit, you would cut this, probably cut Children of Nurgle here and bring him at like 23.95 here, and you're getting a pretty good deal there. So yeah, very strong lord. And then we have the Great Unclean One. You guys know what he does. He's got a Mortis Engine. That's his big thing. He's like a faster Kugath. So really, Kugath is like, if you know you're going to be unga bunga, just kind of like, taking your opponent to the club on one objective where the fight is not going to be, the map is small, it's conducive to single objective fighting and blob fighting, you take Kugath. On other maps where your opponent, you're fighting a faction that doesn't have good, and remember, Kugath and the Exalted Great Unclean One, you don't want to bring them against matchups where your opponents have good shooting. It's going to be a bad time. But if you're facing like Marauder Horsemen or mediocre shooting, melee-centric factions, vampire counts, Khorne, whatever, like that's where these guys really shine. They really, really shine, right? Yeah, so Mortis Engine, if you're on a slightly bigger map but you want like a Mortis Engine that's really powerful, you go Great Unclean One. If you're on a smaller map where you know they have to fight you, like Celestial Lake is the prime example of this. It's just like there's one contested objective, you have a safe home objective, you go for that. You're just here for Frunkel, we're all here for Frunkel. All right, so now onto the Nurgle heroes, and we're gonna speed through this a little bit. We're not gonna spend too long going through like every single nitty gritty of these because we have the rest of the build guide to go through. We're gonna go through every single matchup. So, Cultist of Nurgle, amazing freaking unit. Plague Bearer Summon is really good. Typically, you cut these abilities. He has really good debuffs, Warrior's Bane, as well as the Icon, Poison, and a Summon. Super good. Any matchup in which you need like a foot-based character to grind an objective, like there's a lot of factions that suck at killing foot characters. Very, very good. Exalted Champion of Nurgle, S tier unit. Despite getting a big nerf a couple patches back, they got the Rot Beast now, which makes him even better. These guys are excellent bodyguards for Festus. Any matchup in which you're dealing with like a single entity, that's where these guys really, really shine. Hey, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's going to be fun. This is Immense Wisdom, dedicated Nurgle players. Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah, so the Exalted heroes are really good. And honestly, having like two of these guys with like with a Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle is such a powerful combo. Like, because these Exalted heroes of Nurgle are basically like legendary lords on a stick. Like, they can fight most legendary lords mono-e-mono largely because of the poison, which is crazy good. You can bring Acid Ichor for the damage reflection, but it's too little to really be significant, in my opinion. Their items are okay. Typically, I like to bring them bare bones on Rot Beast, and that's where they really, really shine. Hey, Bubbly Poop, Jesus. That's a very fitting Nurgle name. Thank you for subscribing with the Prime. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. All right, so next up, we're going to be going on over to the next hero, which is going to be the Plague Ridden. Now, I strongly advise against these things. I think Plague Riddens are pretty bad. Sure, they have Nurgle and Death, and they fly, and they do have the Locus of Virulence, but Nurgle's more about grind rather than burst damage. But the problem with these guys is they cost a freaking arm and a leg, and they only have 30 armor. So, like, they can get bullied so freaking hard, even by, like, low-quality stuff. So if you were to go optimal, you go Stream of Corruption, Fleshy, probably keep this. That's 1795, which I guess isn't, like, terrible. It's an armor-piercing fighter. Like, maybe there's some unexplored elements of the meta, but I just feel like the 30 armor just hurts so bad. If you get caught in, like, one situation, they just get ground down. Whereas if you go with like a Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle, right, and you get him here, you get him with the, let's just do the same kit, right? So Stream of Corruption, Fleshy Abundance, Rot Beast. You cut Evasion, cut his items. He's only 1295. He's got 80 armor. He's got a similar amount of HP and also is on a Rot Beast mount, which is just a solid mobile ground-based fighter. And remember, the flying guy isn't going to have capture weight. This homeboy is going to bring 3 capture weight and a good ground fighting presence that you can be way riskier with 80 armor and 48 MD. Granted, I think the Plague Ridden has good. Yeah, he's at 47 as well. But like, just the Nurgle Sorcerer is just better in every way, in my opinion. But again, maybe some forbidden tech will come. We've seen some people come in and try and innovate with like Rotflies and Plague Ridden and stuff, and it's just not great. Now, Kha'Zix is the Nurgle named character. He's actually very, very good. You can usually cut Befouled Charge. Corrupted Flesh you want to keep. 20% ward save is great. And Sword of Filth you can keep too. At 1600, you get an incredibly cost-effective little fighter. He's very similar to the Exalted Hero of Nurgle, but what's cool about Kha'Zix is he has self-healing. So he does have the regeneration. So he's going to be healing passively and also has ward save. If you're playing against like Khorne Skull Cannons, Dark Elves using like Medusas and Hydras and things like that, having him teamed up with an Exalted Hero of Nurgle on a Rot Beast, or like a Chaos Lord of Nurgle with a Sorcerer of Nurgle, you're going to have a crazy good hunting squad. The great assassin character, he is going to shine in matchups where people like to use SEs, like against Chaos Dwarves, you can use him to hunt down trains, that sort of thing. But you don't want to bring him in matchups that you're expecting your opponent's going to go super wide, or in matchups against like Empire, for example, where your opponent can bring a lot of sniping elements and just karate chop you. So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So now we're going to get onto the infantry. Nurglings are good in moderation. You don't want to go too bananas with Nurglings because they're not the most cost-effective fighters, but Nurgle is slow and loves Vanguard. And it's just a cheap Vanguard unit that applies poison and gets to the objective quickly. So I would say in almost every single build with Nurgle, bring 2 Nurglings, if not 3, just because of the Vanguard capture weight with 8,000 HP. It's not bad. They're not going to win any beauty contests. They lose to most infantry. But yeah, the capture weight and the Vanguard is super invaluable to Nurgle. So don't sleep on it. Next up, we have the Marauders and the Marauder Great Weapons. Very good units. Nurgle Marauders have a lot of HP, 10.2. That's why I think that Nurgle Marauders are like the backbone of most Nurgle lists. Compared to like the Warriors who, although, yeah, like even if you look at a Chaos Warrior of Nurgle, they only have 9.8. These guys have 10.2. So throwing the Marauders up and then following up with Pestigors and Forsaken, I feel like is the strongest way to play Nurgle. But yeah, Marauders of Nurgle are amazing. High melee defense, high HP, poison, grindy. They get the job done. So next up we have Pestigors. In my opinion, the best unit on the Nurgle roster. These guys are just absolute pimps. Massive HP pool at 10.5. That is huge. If you look at like units on other rosters, like for example, if we zip over to, let's say, who would be a good example of like a tanky unit? So the Pestigors have 10.5k, okay? Pretty damn good. And we're going to go look at, I think Lizardmen would maybe be a very apt analogy here. You look at the Saurus, they have 10.2. Saurus Warriors are absolute jacked, Giga Chad, 9-foot tall lizard boys. And they have less HP than a Pestigor unit, right? Of course, their combat stats and damage might be better at times, but Pestigors are just so freaking good. Vanguard, armor piercing, poison, AoE slow with a vigor as well. Like when these guys trigger the Tears of Nurgle, an enemy unit like runs near them, it's going to be freaking lowering their vigor by 20% or 20% vigor. That's so good. Primal Fury too means their stats are going to be higher. Pestigors are the best unit on the Nurgle roster. They're very good. They can fight heavy cav, they can fight infantry reasonably well against SEs. Not great, but they have that slow, which is good. So yeah. Plague Bearers are very nice. If in matchups in which you're dealing with a infantry or a roster that doesn't have great archer-based shooting, Plague Bearers can be excellent. 11,600 HP, 50 weapon strength, just very slow, very weak to missile play. But where you use Plague Bearers is in matchups in which, you know, there's a lot. Like for example, Greenskins. Anybody who has like physical resistance, you bring these guys. If the archers aren't amazing, or you can bring them and protect them with the Noxbringer and drain the ammo of the archers before engaging with the Plague Bearers. But always start with Plague Bearers in your starting army. They're a terrible reinforcement unit with their 27 movement speed, but have them in your starting army. I think one of the most meta ways to use Plague Bearers is like Marauders in the front, Plague Bearers in the secondary, Noxbringer in the back, draining the ammunition that can counter them from like Marauder Horsemen, and let them feast. Like Plague Bearers trade up into so many infantry units. If they can get in without getting wasted by archers, you put Plague Bearers against 900 to 1,000 gold infantry units, they'll win most of those fights. At only a 700 price point, dude, I think they are such a bargain deal. So yeah, don't sleep on the Plague Bearers. Be careful bringing them against shooting factions that have a lot of archers, like most of the elves, like Dark Elves, Empire, for example, High Elves. You're probably going to have a bad time with them. But against the other Chaos factions, against other melee factions, Plague Bearers are extremely good. So next up, we have the Chaos Warrior. Very niche, unfortunately. As Giga Chad as Chaos Warriors are, I feel like they're a little bit niche, but still are quite good. There are plenty of matchups in which you want to armor check people, and they're not going to like facing off against armor. So that's where you bring the Chaos Warrior in armor check matchups, which, again, we will get into later in the stream. When you start to see us developing builds, you're going to see which matchups the Chaos Warriors are good in. But that's like the thing, right? If you put like a Plague Bearer against a Chaos Warrior, the Plague Bearer will often win that fight or trade very well into the Warrior, which is too bad. But yeah, Forsaken are another S tier unit on Nurgle, extremely good. So one of the big weaknesses of Forsaken on other rosters is their very low melee defense and their low HP and whatnot. But Nurgle addresses many of those weaknesses. They have bonus HP from Mark of Nurgle as well as melee defense, so that helps them. Nurgle is very slow, so one of the best, I would say, like most Nurgle armies, you start with Marauders in your front, and your reinforcements are going to be Forsaken and Pestigors. It's a really powerful combo. Chaos Warrior Great Weapons are good in a couple matchups. I would say very good against like the Cathay Dwarf archetype. Granted, I think Pestigors have kind of replaced them a little bit, but I like to bring 1 or 2 Chaos Warrior Great Weapons against like Cathay, against Dwarves, as like a mid-game call-in, because they're incredibly tough to shift off objectives. And in mid-game, people are often calling in like Jade Lancers, Empire Knights, and having a couple Chaos Warrior Great Weapon Giga Chads to just like be immovable objects on the objectives in the mid game, really, really not bad in my opinion. So yeah, give it a try. Demon Spew are okay. I think Demon Spew, dude, they have that nice debuff to Swarm of Flies. I think they're good in blob fight matchups. So I would typically lean towards normal Forsaken, but if you're in a matchup where you're expecting blob fights, then the Demon Spew are pretty good. So Exalted Plague Bearers are a niche unit, but have their applications. Again, very risky against shooting-centric factions, against other melee factions, quite good. The Unholy Hand Grenades are very similar to the Death Heads grenades that you see from the Angels of Decay, and you can use them to focus fire down big monsters. Nurgle's, not the best anti-large faction, but they've gotten better. But yeah, these guys are okay. Typically, I wouldn't recommend bringing them. I would say go for the Festering Stooges. Don't be stingy. Shell out the extra 400 gold for the passive healing, and it's worth it. But an okay unit, but a very niche unit. I would say in tonight's build guide, you're probably not going to be seeing these guys in like almost any matchups. Yeah, maybe one or two. Chosen are awesome. Chosen of Nurgle, both variants. Very, very good units. But again, you got to watch out for like elite magic, but I think in some matchups, Chosen of Nurgle can be a real backbreakers. You don't want to like present them in your opening army in a very obvious way because your opponent can plan for them. But having them like sneak in, like hiding them in the trees, moving them up like once the fighting has started, people often mistake them for like marauders or like warriors, especially all of the neckbeards who like to play from like outer space with the debug camera. You can really surprise people with the Chosen of Nurgle Great Weapon. And they just grind, they fight, they have poison. I think they're a very good niche unit. Not like a core Nurgle infantry unit, but very good niche unit. So next up we have the Plague Ogres. Plague Ogres were kind of mediocre when they first came out, but they've gotten a couple buffs since then. In this recent patch, they got some nice buffs. And I think are quite good now. I think they're quite good. Yeah, Stealthy Chosen. Absolutely. Absolutely occultist. But Plague Ogres are amazing. These units freaking rule, dude. I've been using them to great success. Anytime you're playing against like greenskins or a cav-centric faction that has a lot of mobility and you want something to anchor and be able to, beat back big targets, Plague Ogres are good. You have to be very careful though. They only have 50 armor, so getting focused by archers can suck. But again, with finesse, they're a good anti-large unit to mix in tandem with the Rot Knights because they can what's it called? They can get out quicker at only 1450 price point compared to the Rot Knights, which are 1800. So yeah, Plague Ogres are actually a good unit, and you're going to see them incorporated in quite a few of the builds tonight. Festering Stooges are a great unit. Really good, really hard to shift. 13,000 HP, passive regeneration. The grenades are very good, and yeah, they do have the Gloom of Flies. So when they're in melee, they can actually get terror, which is pretty badass. They passively heal, but their healing is very good because it actually regenerates models. So most Nurgle healing doesn't regenerate, but these guys do. I highly recommend Festering Stooges in a fair amount of matchups, like against Vampire Counts and these matchups in which you're going to be in just a long grind. A very, very good anchor piece. Yeah. All right, so next up, Chaos Chariots of Nurgle, pretty bad. They're not very good. Don't bring them. There's better choices for anti-infantry with Nurgle. I would straight up just bring like a Plague Ogre or dual weapons as opposed to these things. Chariots in general are kind of mediocre unless they have big armor piercing values and some sort of like weird hybrid elements to them. Like the chariots of Kislev, for example, that have bear shooting or like war wagons. You guys get the idea. Chaos Knights are okay. They're fine. I don't use them as much anymore, but there are a couple matchups in which Chaos Knights are good. Like as a mid to late game call out against the Elvish factions, they're nice. Although it's gotten tricky with Coldwind Knights and the Dark Elves, Fireborn now and the High Elves. Like they've kind of fallen out of the meta a little bit in favor of Rot Knights. So like that leads me on to my next point. So Chaos Knights are a decent unit, a good sweeper, like I said in the late game, and there are some overload builds where you can bring a couple Chaos Knights, but yeah, I've kind of started shifting away from the Chaos Knights a little bit in favor of the Rot Knight. So next up we have the Rot Knights. Rot Knights are really good. They're a surprisingly finesse-based unit. You can't just like throw them in. You might be like, wow, big HP, armor, and regeneration. I can be reckless, but not really. They can get folded up pretty quickly, but man, if you get Rot Knights in a proper support position, they will get 3,000, 4,000 value with you, and they will straight up carry the game. The ROR is worth bringing, I think. If you're only going to go one Rot Knight, it's often not a terrible idea. They do have the ward save and an insanely good stat line and magic damage. So basically, in matchups in which you need magic damage, I tend to go with the ROR. But if you don't need magic damage, I go with the cheaper Rot Knight. That's kind of been my go-to there. So yeah. Yeah, Nurgle Cav, MVPs, Rot Knights nowadays, in my opinion. Yeah, they've gotten some nice changes and do pretty well. Marauder Horseman, Throwing Axe is an amazing unit. 31 melee defense, good at tar pitting, good at holding objectives in the fourth quarter. Throwing Axes are great. I don't need to explain to you guys why they're good. They're excellent against any cav units. Nurgle is very weak at range, so having any sort of range utility on these bad boys is just like an absolute chef's kiss. All right, let me have some water here real quick. Yeah, and if you guys, again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out, and you know, maybe we'll have like a dedicated Q&A later on or something. But if you guys have questions while we're going over this, don't be shy. I see a couple out there, but if you guys have any, let me know. You enjoyed the Kugath one the other day? Yeah, I think we got like friggin' 8,000 value with Kugath against vampire counts. That was pretty insane. So, now onto the monsters and war beasts. Poison hounds, amazing. You know, fast, very flimsy, but good when you need poison in a pinch, or if you need to be diving somebody's backfield to shut down range units or artillery. Very, very good. Same as tabletop. Furies are amazing, and one of my favorite synergies for all of you aspiring Nurgle champions is to use, so you use Lord of Nurgle, and you use the freaking Curse of the Leper on them. It's so freaking good. It puts them up to 55 armor, makes them very tough to remove, and also gives a little bit of damage reflection. I've been loving that. It's quite good. Plague Toads are a good unit. I would say niche, but still in matchups in which you need mass to like block up enemy cav and monsters. Plague Toads are nice at that. Very weak against archer shooting with only 6,000 HP and no missile mitigation outside of their Fizz res. They can have a bad time. But yeah, Plague Toads are a nice mid-game call-in. I prefer to get my armor piercing for my infantry. But yeah. Wire Toads used, but not Pox Riders. Because Pox Riders are a lot more expensive. It's a 400 gold difference. And the Plague Toads are already kind of a niche application unit. Kiss my axe, yeah, that's a good name. But yeah, the Pox Riders are just like, what do you're getting 14 more weapon strength, the better stat line, 6,000 HP against 7.8. It's pretty okay. But Toads are already niche, and usually you just want to like get the numbers on the battlefield with Nurgle. Nurgle is a faction that really shines with the wide builds because of the Lore of Nurgle passive. Every time you cast a spell, it heals your entire army. So usually when you call it an elite unit, it needs to be pretty good, like a Rot Knight or something. Yeah. You can almost buy 2 Toads for the cost of 1 Pox Rider. If Pox Rider's got a reduction of like 100 gold, which honestly I think would be a totally fine thing. I don't think it'd be OP. We could start making arguments for using Pox Riders. But the problem is Pox Riders still have low armor. And can get focused down by missiles and cheap spears. If I'm going to throw something out there, I'd rather it be cheaper Toad. Right? So Beast of Nurgle, an extremely niche unit, but very, very good against vampire counts. Throwing a Beast of Nurgle against vampire counts, they have a lot of HP for, for an SE here. They regenerate. They have the Slime Trail, which lowers melee attack and speed. And they can kill things like corpse carts. And if your opponent tries to snipe them, it's not a big deal if you lose it. They're cheap and expendable, and yeah, I would really only use the Beast of Nurgle in the Vampire Count mirror match. It might as well be a mirror match, but in that matchup there. So we have Rotflies. I think Rotflies suck personally. There's a couple applications in which maybe the Rotfly might have some hope. I think against like Empire, Bretonnia, maybe against Kislev, any of these like factions that present heavy cav, because cav units want to get the charges off, and Rotflies can get the charge off against them. But aside from that, I think they're a little bit mediocre. Yeah, a little bit mediocre. But to be completely fair and be very clear with you guys, I haven't experimented with Rotflies much. It's a unit I've tried, been disappointed with, and kind of abandoned several times. I've tried to make Rotfly rushes work against like gun lines, and I'm always like, man, I would wish I had spent that 900 gold on more infantry or like another character or something, But yeah, there is one good Rotfly we'll get to. So Bile Trolls are amazing. Rotflies, so somebody in chat saying Rotflies are good against dragons and big flying SE. They're okay. It's all right. Personally, I would rather take down big dragons with Marauder Horsemen or my characters, or like Rot Knights. But yeah, it's certainly something worth exploring. It's worth exploring. Yeah. Bile Trolls are really good now. The new change with the stomach acid. So this is one of my favorite power combos on Nurgle right now. Basically, you get the stomach acid and you mix it with Tamarcon, and then anybody that they're fighting together is going to be at -12 leadership, which is very good. And you can mix Lore of Death in, but I would recommend Lord of Nurgle with Tamarcon simply because he doesn't have self-healing, so you usually need that. You can use like Fecundity to heal him, but yeah, the Bile Trolls are very, very good. Great mass unit, a solid piece. So we talked about Pox Riders. A little bit too expensive. I think you just go with Plague Toads most of the time. You just kind of go with those bad boys. Spawn of Nurgle are all right. Personally, I think that the Monsters Infantry slot is going to be taken by Bile Trolls nowadays with that leadership debuff. But, Spawn, maybe a couple niche applications. Like mixing in a Spawn against like vampire counts, might not be bad. They hit really good against light armor, so like skeleton zombies, crypt horrors, mortis engines. I think there maybe is a couple niche applications for the spawn, but overall I think bile trolls are probably just a little bit stronger. They passively regenerate, they have that Knight's debuff, and yeah, they're just a good piece for sure. So let me have some water here real quick. We will keep going. It reminds me, does the Nurgle Demon Prince have lore of Nurgle? He has a dual lore. So he does have the, let's scroll down here. Yeah, the Children of Nurgle. Yeah, so he does have it. Pretty good. So if you're spamming his cheap spells, it ain't bad at all. Next up, we have Plague Drones. Okay, so if I'm going to give Plague Drones a fair shake, I would say that Plague Drones might be good against like Tomb Kings in a niche, because they can beat the Tomb King's Cav, they can shut down Ushabti Great Bows, they can destroy regular Ushabti, and they also fight respectably well against Khemrian War Sphinxes. Maybe Rotflies and Plague Drones can fill that niche, because that is a very cursed matchup that has been very tough for Nurgle to win, so maybe there's a little bit to be explored here. I think there's a lot of sauce to be done with putting Damage Reflection and Curse of the Leper on Plague Drones in general, but yeah, very tricky. So next up, we have the Barons of the Bog with the Bog. The bang, diggy, diggy. These guys are very good against blob fight factions. Any matchup like against Khorne, against vampire counts, that's where you want these guys. You don't want to like bring them into shooting matchups. Granted, they do have 80 armor, so if your opponent has like mediocre shooting, like chaos level shooting, I think Barons are safe. But really good debuffs, man. Like really good. They have the Miasma Rot, which gives a vigor buff, which is super good in blob fights. If you're in a grind with vampire counts or anybody, just bring these guys in. On top of that, they have the Wasting Sickness, which lowers mass and damage, and they have base poison and magic damage. I think Barons of the Bog with the Bog are quite good in blob fight matchups. Like if you're looking to have like a debuff Death Star, Barons of the Bog, Beast of Nurgle, Cultist of Nurgle, that's an insane stat debuff that your opponent will not win. Equilibrium, do you get? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you absolutely do. Yeah, you absolutely do. Okay. So next up, what do we got? Where are we at? War Shrine of Nurgle is very niche. If you're going to bring a War Shrine, do not bring it by itself. Put a Cultist on a War Shrine. Because if you mount the Cultist on the War Shrine, which I actually think is unironically quite good, you get a massive debuffing station that also gives the Nurgle healing on the Shrine. So not useless, but only good in matchups in which you know your opponent wants to commit to a disgusting blob fight. Any sort of a mobility-based matchup or where you need to contest mobility, it's going to be bad. Obviously, in land battle, it's a different beast, but we do dom competitive over here. So, yeah. The War Shrine does have a build-up. The basic one's only 1,300, but just put a Cultist on it. It's going to be much more cost-effective. Yeah. Bilious Thunderguff kind of sucks. I mean, Giants are niche, and he's very expensive at 1,700. At 1,700... you can get like a mobile like powerhouse unit like a Rot Knight that's going to change the entire flow of a battle. Whereas this guy just waddles up. I mean, if you had to bring him, it would be against like melee blob fights, but overall not very good. I wouldn't recommend bringing him. Same with the Exalted Great Unclean One. There's no reason to really bring it, in my opinion. He's an okay fighter with some bound spells, but he needs to have like a Mortis Engine or something like that to be viable. Yeah. Do I dare rock Nurgle for the new player tournament tomorrow? Staunch TV, maybe after this, if you'll be able to come back to this video and get all the builds from this. So Nurgle is very, I think Nurgle's a good faction, but they're not easy to play. They're not easy to play, but I say do it. I say do it. Toad Dragons are actually good. I think they're sleeper decent against the other Chaos factions. Mixing in a Toad Dragon is my biggest success I've had against Khorne is with the dreaded Toad Dragon. 100%. Don't sleep on it. But really, I think it's more optimal to bring Tamarcon on the Toad Dragon because, then you can, it gets better stats and a little bit more HP if I'm not mistaken. I don't know about the HP, but I know it gets a better stat line. Tamarcon and Toad Dragon has the same HP, but 62, 36, 650, whereas this Toad Dragon is, let's see. Yeah, 51, 36. So it's a, and 50 less weapon strength. Just go Tamarcon Toad Dragon. But yeah, use the Toady in, if we were to say like viable matchups for the Toad Dragon, vampire counts, it's viable. Granted, you typically would want to go Mortis, but if you go Exalted Great and Clean One Toad Dragon against vampires, it could be quite good. Against Warriors of Chaos, it could work, but a little bit riskier because of the Hell Cannon shooting and whatnot. Against Khorne, it's extremely good. Greenskins, maybe, but still risky. I probably wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, those three matchups, I would say, are very Toad Dragon friendly. You got to do it, man. We'll give you Nurgle's Rot, and you'll win tomorrow's tourney. Frunkle's an absolute shithouse meme, just not very good because the template, the foundation upon which he's built, the Great Unclean One is a mediocre unit, and his abilities are cute. Spirit Leech is good. Defiling Deluge gives a little bit of healing, but overall, just there are so many better ways. Like I would bring the frickin' Rotting Riders a million times over before bringing the frickin' Furuncle. Competitively, do not bring Furuncle. If you're trying to party with the homies and have some friends, go for it. So next up, we have the Death's Heads, and we'll include the Angels of Decay here. These guys are one of the biggest carry units on the entire Nurgle roster. Angels of Decay, their unholy hand grenades have saved like 80% of my Nurgle games. They can wreck anything big. They can snipe enemy lords, and they're strong enough fighters that if your opponent tries to come at them in the sky, you can actually use a little bit of Nurgle magic like Miasma or Curse of the Leper on them or heal them with Fleshy, and they can fend things off. Usually I recommend supporting them with Furies, but yeah, never. I would say in like 80% of matchups, you're going to bring Angels of Decay. Not against like Dwarves and stuff, but dude, they are so freaking good. They are so freaking good, okay? Always consider bringing these guys. Very, very nice. So next up, we have Soul Grinder of Nurgle and the Arwar. The basic Soul Grinder is okay. Granted, I think it's been overshadowed. One of the biggest weaknesses of Nurgle is getting shot at range. So having the Noxbringer to sit there and drain ammunition using the Cloud of Erosion, dude, it's so good. When I discovered, like a month ago, I started incorporating the Noxbringer in like almost every Nurgle build, and I was like, dude, this is just a game changer. You know, just the game changer. And yeah, bring this bad boy, feast. The other Soul Grinder, I would say bring it if you want to go double Soul Grinder and really have like a mobility bombard build. But the Noxbringer is one of the best units. It's in the top 5 units in the roster. For me, it would be like Pestigore, followed up by maybe the Angels of Decay. Noxbringer would maybe be like number 4. Rot Knights would be probably number 3 for me. It's hard to say if I'm really getting into it. It depends on the matchup, but yeah, that's that. So there we conclude the roster breakdown. I hope that was helpful for you guys, giving you like a loose idea of how the faction works. Obviously, if you really want to see these principles in form, go watch my Nurgle SFTs, including we had one a month ago that we did pretty good in, and we've had good runs with them against top tier players. So that's still your best resource, but you can use this as a supplement. So now let's get nasty, okay? We're going to do our build guide. So this is, I wish I had it freaking, this is where the standing desk is troll. I was going to have to stand here for a couple hours, but all good. So next up we have the army building. So we're going to build army builds for every single matchup. Every single matchup. So if you're a new aspiring Nurgle player, you can get here. And by the way, if you're one of my opponents in a tournament and you're here right now trying to snipe my builds, shame on you. All right, so looking at Nurgle, let's break it down and let's have some fun. Okay, so we're going to do this. So firstly, I do not have a Beastman build yet, so we're going to do Beastman. So Beastman is a pretty difficult matchup. Their mobility is very challenging. And remember, grain of salt. Every one of these builds is going to change depending on the map you're on. Maps change everything. They change everything, okay? So just take it with a grain of salt. So against Beastmen, what are Beastmen going to present against you? Let's see. Do we have anybody? Do we have anybody in chat? The first person, what are the 2 units you're going to be facing on the Beastmen roster that are going to be the most annoying shit for Nurgle? No, I'm waiting for somebody in chat to see if somebody gets it. Now I'm the high school teacher now. All right, I'm waiting. Let's see if anybody gets it right. What are the 2 units you are going to be encountering? And I'm going to have some. Okay, Centaurs. Centaurs is there. Yes. What else? Centaur throwing axes is a big one. And so Centaurs, including throwing axes, and what's the other unit that isn't a Centaur you're going to be facing 5 of in every single matchup with Nurgle? I'm waiting to see. So yeah, you guys nailed it. Good work. You got the Centaur, but what's the other unit? Raiders. Ungor Raiders. Yeah, Chad Dreadsorian in chat coming in with the steel chair. Okay. Nice. So what is good against Raiders and Archers? Shields and Noxbringer. Noxbringer, you can shoot at Raiders to drain their ammunition and terror route Beastmen in the late game. And the Noxbringer is an S tier counter skirmisher. If you're facing Centaurs with throwing axes that are circling your slow, just grimy Nurgle army, you're going to want the Noxbringer in there shooting. It is so... No for Uncle. Get that out of here. No for Uncle. Bad. So yeah, you would want to bring Noxbringer, okay? Now, aside from this against Beastmen, you have a couple options. You can present Plague Bearers against Beastmen, and they're not terrible. But I think that the Marauder Core is going to be your best friend. Now, in reinforcements, I highly recommend Forsaken. Forsaken, excuse me, are very, very good against a lot of the Beastmen roster. They can actually grind down Centaurs. They kill most of the Beastmen infantry. You don't need to put too much respect on the what's it called? The frickin' Bestigors in this matchup. Like, you can usually deal with the lead infantry pretty well with Nurgle, right? So you're going to want Rot Knights as well. Having a Rot Knight against Minotaurs and various other large threats is pretty important. And you do want a little bit of counter skirmishing. Just for some map control, I would recommend maybe 2 of the Marauder Horsemen in the opening build. And aside from that, you can go Shielded Chaos Warrior or you can go Plague Bearer. Really just kind of a preference thing. But yeah, the Raiders will pound your Plague Bearers into dust, so you got to watch out for that. So we're going to kind of develop this as we go. So against Beastmen, I think the mobility is going to be good. Tamarkon is okay, but he's very vulnerable to mass missile shooting. So I would probably say that this is going to be a Chaos Sorcerer matchup. So you're going to go for the Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle. Now, there is an argument to going Lore of Death and using Fate of Unispam to pound down all of their mobility and their Centaurs. But I would say that Lore of Nurgle is going to be better. And since you're going Noxbringer, you're not going to have that wide of a build. So you don't really need the Children of Nurgle passive or Evasion, Paragon of Decay, Filth Mace. You're probably going to go Fleshy Abundance, Rancid, and you can throw in a tech of Stream of Corruption. Just in case they bring Elite Infantry, you're going to go and hit them with that. But really, sniping the Beastmen Lord is a very, very strong play. Like, if their Bray Shaming gets out of position for even a second, you can use the Rancid Visitations to feast like the Heathen Kings of old, and you're going to have a pretty good time with that. On top of that, I think we want a couple Furies. Pretty good for shutting down archers and also diving Centaurs. I almost want to bring the Curse of the Leper too in this matchup, but I think that Kit of Spells is a little bit better there. And will Beastmen present anything big? You can bring Angels of Decay against Beastmen. It's actually not a bad idea because Butchers of Kalkengard, occasionally you'll see like, chariots they can snipe. I think that they're probably still worth incorporating into the build, okay? So the real tricky part for me right now is deciding what type of infantry do we want to present. Pestigors in reserve, I would say a couple of them, just because they're fast in Vanguard, and we can get like a Nurgling as well. Nurglings are just nice capture weight, and second Nurgling, and then maybe a Marauder, or maybe we go Blisterback. I'm not sure. Hard choice, but we'll fine tune this. Yeah, Angels of Decay, do we really need them? Is the question. I think they're good in this matchup. So you guys, this is going to be a lot of my thought process. You like the big threats. What are they going to be? I think we probably can bring a couple shielded warriors here, or you could even just go Forsaken. The Forsaken might give you a little bit more utility for closing the distance quickly. Yeah, I like that actually. That looks like a nice opening build. So you have one Nurgling to Vanguard up with the Marauder Horsemen. 2 Forsaken is like a sweeper counterpunching unit. These guys to take the beating. And how do we deal with the Butchers of Kalkengard, the Minotaurs, those other big threats, right? I guess Rot Knights are pretty good against that. I don't like the Nurgle characters too much. Beastmen typically spam like Centaurs and Centaurs with Grey Opens. So the Exalted Heroes are just going to get tar pitted and probably kited around the battlefield. Do we not have him out for the Lord? Thank you. Okay. I knew something was a little bit off. Thank you so much. Okay, so in that case, we would just got the Nurgling and figure it out from there. So we'll fine-tune the money here in a second. Arcane Conduit is good. I guess we would cut Stream of Corruption to make that build viable. Okay, so we cut Stream of Corruption. Rancid Visitation Fleshy is like the most important kit there. We could probably go down to, since we have 2 Forsaken in the opening build, we could probably go down there to save a little bit of money. And I actually like the idea of like a Plague Ogre Great Weapon. Yeah, the Plague Ogre Great Weapon against like the Centaur spam could give you a really nice backbone. Granted, Rot Knight might be enough to have that covered, but Beastmen do present a lot of large, although I think we probably need more infantry in this build here. Plague Bearers are all right here, but I like the armor against the shooting, and these guys will wreck the Ungors very hard and can definitely rip up Centaurs. Having units that are hyper vulnerable to shooting is very risky against Beastmen. It's very, very risky. Battletoads, you could maybe throw in like a single Battletoad. But what is it really good against? Centaurs crush Battletoads, Archers, Raiders, Ungors, they all smash them. The Trolls are okay in this matchup. I don't know how much I like the Troll. The Pestigors are a nice tech in case they do bring some armor. The Rot Knights are going to be there to deal with big threats. You have the Marauder Horsemen. You have the Rot Beast Lord. Angels of Decay are the only unit I'm slightly on the fence about because a good Beastmen player will not get caught. Okay, now that I think about it, the only matchup, like they're going to run with a good high-level player is going to keep their Bray Shaman away from the Angels. They'll hit it with Traderkin and shoot it with archers, and yeah, no, I don't think that's the way. So let's go ahead and get a Plague Ogre with Grey Opens here. So this is our anti-large kit here, right? So now we just need to have like some good quality infantry to push in with. And yeah, Nurglings are honestly not bad. And yeah, triple Pestigore, although Pestigores are niche in this matchup at best. I think that the Forsaken might be a little bit better. We could even do another Marauder Horseman Throwing Axe. I actually don't hate that, yeah. This build looks pretty good to me. All right, because you got answers for most things. You have the anti-archer. You have the Centaurs with Throwing Axes for a little bit of, or the Marauder Horsemen, they can kite the Centaurs. Maybe we need some Poison Hounds, although I don't think so. Not with the Chaos Furies. I think that's good. You got Nurglings, decent infantry reinforcements, good anti-large, and yeah, a strong lore magic as well. Can you change the AI faction to match what you're talking about? Yeah, we can. That's a really good idea. All right, thank you so much. So Beastmen. So this would be, if I didn't know, like if I just had to give you a generic Beastmen, Nurgle versus Beastmen build, this would probably be something. And again, we're going to save all these too. So Nurgle versus Beastmen. And at any point during this, if you guys want to like see what we're on about, or you want to look at a different matchup, just let me know and we can do that. I don't know if I like Bile Trolls there because Bile Trolls they have low armor. They're pretty weak. Their leadership, like Beastmen, are really good at developing and surrounding shit, and Bile Trolls are probably often going to get caught out, killed by raiders, bullied by Minotaurs. I don't know. The leadership debuff is nice, but Beastmen are too mobile. I think they're too risky. This build, you'll notice against Beastmen, is incredibly fast. It's got Forsaken, it's got Marauder Horsemen, it's got Ogres, Rot Knights. It's quick, it's fast, it's furious. All right, Nurgle versus Khorne's coming up. So next up we have Demons of Chaos. Now this is a freaking cursed matchup. Okay, Demons of Chaos are massively favored against Nurgle. This is very hard, and I played this in a tournament grand finals. I lost the semifinals recently with this one. So I'm still trying to figure this out. So tonight we're gonna theory craft this shit together. Okay. So how the hell do you deal with Changebringers? Like a Tzeentch Air Force flying around cackling that has access to Fleshhounds and Seekers and all sorts of scary stuff. I'm starting to think it has to be a face-to-foot style. So Plague Bearers and Mass, backed up by Marauders. A lot of units just kind of out there getting a little bit crunk nasty, okay? Now, as far as the rest of the build goes, who's going to be the Lord choice? There's two options. You can go Lore of Nurgle in spam spells to get the HP regeneration on the big army. Or I think you go Lore of Death, which I think probably has to be your best bet. So in this case, we get a Nurgle Sorcerer with Lore of Death, Spirit Leech, and Buna. Buna is one of the few counters against Changebringers you have. Basically, you slap the Changebringers with Spirit Leech and Buna, and you can potentially one-shot them, okay? You keep Life Leeching, Arcane Conduit, keep this, put them on a Rot Beast just to give them a little bit of fighting presence, and call it a day there, right? So that is going to be that. Now, dealing with the SEs that they can present is kind of tricky too. Like they can present Soul Grinders, lots of scary stuff like that. So throwing in Kha'Zix in your build, I don't think would be a bad idea because Kha'Zix plus the Chaos Sorcerer could fight off Demon Princes and also maybe would be adequate at hunting down some of the other threats. So let's cut Plague Bearers. I think we need the Noxbringer here too. Yeah, so Noxbringer and Nurgling, okay? So these are a couple things Demons of Chaos like to do. They like to bring like Tzeentch elements. The Noxbringer is going to be good at shooting at the Exalted Pinks and the regular Pinks and the Blue Horrors and all that. And it's a SE fighter that can support you against monster stuff. Kha'Zix and the Chaos Sorcerer are both very durable. And notice that they both have healing. The Crown of Everlasting Conquest and Regeneration. Kha'Zix might be a little bit risky though with the fact that they are so much fire damage. And he does have regeneration, so he's weak to fire. He does have the 20% fire weakness. Oh, God. You see, this matchup's just dodgy, dude. It feels tough. I think maybe we go for this guy instead. So we get Rot Beast, and yeah. I think that looks a little bit better. But, man, not having healing is rough. You can use Rancid Visitations. Man, Changebringers are just so rough to fight. I think we have to go Lore of Nurgle, though, guys. I think we have to go Lore of Nurgle. So we go with Fleshy and Rancid. Okay, and we cut that too. Keep Arcane Conduit, put you on Rot Beast. Rancid Visitations Overcasted can do a ton of damage against the flying units. Because like we have 2 units that are very hungry for healing. We have the Exalted Hero, which, oh, hold up. What about the Exalted Hero on the Chariot? To try and bully the infantry fight a little bit. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. So, whoa, that's actually kind of cool because he could probably fight the big scaries even on a chariot. Okay, hear me out. We go double Exalted Hero on chariot to dominate the infantry fight. Okay. Yeah, we're going to need to fine tune this a little bit. But then our infantry army just got very elite. Okay, Noxbringer drains ammo. How do we deal with Changebringers? We got to address that in our reinforcements. So I think we get a couple Marauder Horsemen. I think we bring Furies. Plague Drones, how will Plague Drones do up in the sky? Could this be the forbidden tech? Could this be the forbidden sauce? So, oh man, but the problem is the Exalted Heroes and the Chariots are probably going to have a bad time versus like Seekers and Fiends and shit. You know, that's what I'm a little bit sweating bullets here about. Forsaken are a pretty good reinforcing unit. I think they're not bad at all. We got the Marauder Horsemen, Rot Knights in this matchup. What are Rot Knights good against? I think we need a Rot Knight. We go ROR because the ROR has magic damage, which is very good against demons. The demon in the air game is tough. It really is. I think you might just have to face the foot style and skirmish them with Furies and Marauder Horsemen. And do we have enough for one more spell here? No, I don't think we do. Yeah, we actually can. So let's cut the these and get the Miasma Pestilence. Yeah, Miasma is pretty good. You can use that to help your Furies beat their Furies. Okay, so we got these guys. We have the Angels of Decay. We don't need Angels of Decay in this matchup, I don't think. Can probably tank Zeet shooting long enough for Nox to kill it. Noxbringer versus their Air Force. That is one element of this matchup, is using Noxbringer to shoot their their range units. I don't know how effective that would be against Changebringers. I really don't. It's not something I've tested. But yeah, Triple Fury is good. And then from here, I think we... Yeah, Warriors are actually bad in this matchup because of Bloodletters. Bloodletters give them the dirty really bad. Forsaken at least can close the distance quickly. I think this is a build I would like to try. Because these 2 Exalted Heroes of Nurgle can bully all their infantry very effectively. From here, you call in... Do we need more anti-large? Right? That's the question. This build may be a little bit lacking in anti-large. Although we have triple Marauder Horseman Throwing Axe. Rot Knights do have the regeneration. Right? So they're going to be weak to fire damage. That's the only thing that sucks, but at least these ones do magic damage. I think that's worth bringing. Plague Ogres, I think, are not going to be great because of all the hybrid shooting will be too effective against them. I think we just have to rely on the Rot Beast Lord, the 2 Exalted Heroes, to fight big targets. It's not great, but they can. And yeah, give it a good college try. I think we got to do it. Hey, Turn, would you say the Black Lions are a counter against the Noxbringer? Yeah, probably. It's not a bad counter. It's pretty good, Johnny Cash, yeah. Because it has good range. Although the Noxbringer does have longer range, but it's only really effective at medium range here. Yeah, Plague Bearers, I mean, there is another element of this. So we're going to save this as... so Nurgle versus Demons of Chaos Elite. So that's going to be like our Elite variant. And now we're going to work on a face-to-foot style. So if we're doing face-to-foot style against demons, what we are doing here is we're basically forsaking our value trading in favor of stuffing them back and winning on triple cap, which is very, very viable for Nurgle. So let's do a 2.0 build. You guys have the elite build we just finished. And now we would go Miasma, Curse of the Leper, and probably just Fleshy in stream. You know, we're going to bring a lot of spells just as a contingency here. Okay, so there we are. So face the foot style would be mass just trash on the field, basically, you know. I got to head to bed for the morning shift, but I look forward to studying the Nurgle pop quiz next week. Sounds good, Staunch. Thank you for joining. This is face to foot style. And honestly, in face to foot style, you could use Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights might not be bad here. Even in the other build, maybe Chaos Knights would be viable. Yeah, you know what? I actually like the Chaos Knight. Let's get face to foot style. We're going to try and stuff with Chaos Knights a little bit. We're going to get some Forsaken, and we can get a Forsaken here, and maybe like the Arwar Nurglings. Yeah, we can turn you into Nurglings too. Yeah, I'm starting to like that. And then here, what else can we squeeze in there? Not much more. Okay, and then you, if we go 900. Yeah, so this is just like aggro, pedal to the metal. I don't care if you have changebringers. I'm coming for those objectives. So you would want to use Pesties probably just to get them up quick. Forsaken are very good at reinforcing, and Marauders. And then what else? We could use like some Poison Hounds too. Battletoads are not bad. They can definitely grind some shit down, but this is a dodgy one. I like the double Chaos Knight here though. I think that could be effective. Yeah, Marauder Horsemen are also good at getting up and providing support and nurgling. Hey, man, Duran is gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Oh, thank you, man. Holy shit. Duran giving out the old subs. Hey, shout out to the homie there, dude. Thank you. This is Nurgle versus Demons face to foot style. They often will come in elite. Changebringers, Demons, you should be able to triple cap them. And then from there, you just stuff, and hope that you can heal your army enough using the lore passive and just survive. So this is Nurgle versus Doc. Nurgle versus Doc. Face to foot. We're going to call that face to foot style. Yeah, Kung Pao. Thank you so much, man. Just have to avoid the Heartseekers, yeah. All right, so this is an option. It's not easy, but I think it's viable. All right, so next we're going to do the Empire. I am very practiced in this matchup, and I would say the last tournament I won with Nurgle, we actually defeated the Empire. So the previous 2 matchups, I haven't played much, but now we're getting into the territory of what I know well. Here's how you beat Empire. This is going to be very short. This is going to be very sweet. Duran, dude, thank you, man. That's very kind of you. This is a face-to-foot style matchup. Pumped for the Grubby Invitational. Dude, I've been training a little bit for that. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. There's some great players playing. So Pestigors, Marauders with great opens behind them to deal with Empire Heavy Cav, Forsaken, all infantry. So you go full court frickin' press. You line up your shit. You march, you vanguard the Pestigors and the Nurglings, you grab 2 objectives immediately, and you push. Just everything into their army, face-to-foot style, and you basically are spamming the cheap spells, and every time you do that, it heals your entire army. Okay? That's it. You're calling in Forsaken, Marauder Horsemen to deal with SEs, Furies to dive range units, get those objectives, stuff them back, get the job done. Okay? That's how this matchup goes. This matchup is 1,000% a face-to-foot style matchup. You can play it kind of elite if you want to and use like Noxbringer and a couple like characters, but the most consistent way to beat the Empire is by stuffing them. Now, it still requires a ton of finesse. You can't just like have your army spread out and let the Empire pick it apart. You grab all 3 objectives and then you maneuver your army to intercept them. Right? So you don't want to just be spread out. You spread out at first to get all 3 objectives. You see where the Empire is going to be focusing its forces, and then you start engaging with them and push them back. That is how that matchup goes, ladies and gentlemen. Very simplistic. You can see the build here. It gets the job done. I have beaten some of the best players in the world with this build. It's pretty damn effective. All right. So next up, we're going to do High Elves. High Elves versus Nurgle is a weird one. High Elves are not very popular. I don't know if I have a build save for this matchup. Let me see if I do. I do, actually. Okay, great. So what do High Elves do very well? What's a problem for Nurgle? They're single entities. They're dragons. All that shit. So you go double Exalted Hero of Nurgle on Rot Beast with a Sorcerer of Nurgle using Stream of Corruption and Fleshy Abundance. Fleshy Abundance heals your characters. Stream of Corruption kills the elite Half Infantry. The 2 characters are going to bully the hell out of a dragon or any sort of SEs they bring. They're going to be good against Silver Helms. They're going to be good against most of the roster. So then you push up with Marauders. With this build, you go for 1 objective out of the gates and then slowly push your way out over the course of a game. You engage them. You use your heroes to bully their heroes. If they don't have them, you can use your Exalted Heroes to dive their infantry and archers. Noxbringer will shut down their shooting and skirmishing. Pestigors move in. Start to be your secondary wave of call-ins here. You use the Rotting Riders to bully their mass, their Silver Helms, their Dragon Princes, whatever. Furies to shut down shooting. Marauder Horsemen very good against their cav and infantry. And Bile Trolls are really good against like White Lines of Krace and Phoenix Guard and those type of units, with support, of course. So that is how you beat the High Elves. It can vary. There's a couple of variants of this build, but this is one I've had some pretty good success with. All right, next up we got the Lizardmen. So let's switch this up to the dinosaurs here. Let's get this. And where are we at? All right, so we got the dinosaurs. This matchup is interesting. I played this one the other day, and this is actually one of the matchups in which I like to get a little bit naughty and use some Chosen. Okay, so let's break it down. The other day, we played this build, and we had pretty good success against the Lizardmen in a tournament. We were able to beat a Dreadsaurian build. So you go with the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord with the Rancid, Curse of the Leper, and Fleshy. You bring his healing item, and you put him on a Rot Beast. You guys are going to see that's a bit of a trend. Marauders and Chosen. Now, Chosen of Nurgle are absolute giga-chads. There's an argument to be made in this matchup for bringing the Great Weapon, but I prefer the 65 melee defense and the holding power to allow my other units to really shine. So you hunker down on one objective with your Chosen. You have the Marauder Horsemen to try and deal with the big monsters. Angels of Decay will hard counter most of their Air Force. And here's the thing. If the Lizardmen show up and want to contest the skies with you, they're going to have a bad time unless they go high magic. Because let's say they send out the freaking Colossodon Hunters to kill your Angels of Decay. You call out Furies, you put Curse of the Leper on those Furies, and they'll be able to bully. You use the Angels and the Furies 2v1 to kill them. And you're just going to control the skies. Then the Angels of Decay are used to counter the Croxagors, the big things, while your Chosen and Forsaken grind to the ground and defeat the Saurus. Plague Ogres and Rot Knights are there to deal with Coldon Riders and any big threats they bring. This build's good. This build, it needs a little bit more testing. You would obviously spend this money on like chevrons for these units, but it's a pretty good style. It can work. It might struggle against like a kiting build, but again, I've had success with this style. There's a number of ways you can change it up too. If you want to go wider, depending on the map, if it's like a really big map, you could like downscale the Chosen into Chaos Warriors. Get like 3 of those and like an Nurgling or something and play like a wider version of this build that's less vulnerable to being sniped and punished. But yeah, you guys get the idea. I think that the Chosen variant is pretty good. Let's load back to that real quick. And, this is my excuse to slip some Chosen into the build. Angels of Decay, though, are your biggest lifesaver. These guys are what's going to win you the matchup and get the job done. So, all right. Next up, we have the Ogre Kingdoms. This is a pretty cursed matchup. Granted, I did win it the other day, but it was very difficult, and my opponent blundered really, really hard. But this has always been a pretty massively favored matchup for Ogres. But after some of the changes, it's a little bit more durable. Now, do I have a build for this, or are we going to have to do it from scratch? I don't know if I have a build for this one. I don't think so. Okay. So, let's reset the old meter here and have some fun. Have some water real quick here. By the way, how you guys all doing tonight? You guys doing all right? Life treating you well? No drama, hopefully. Hopefully everything is nice and steady there. We're going to set this up. So against Ogres, Shielded Marauders are going to be a good infantry unit. Sleepy? Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm a little bit tired as well. Plague Bearers are really good against Ogres. A little bit weak against like Slingers and whatnot, but having them in reserve I think is quite good. And then here, you have a couple options. You can go for a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, or you can go Tamarcon. I'm a big Tamarcon enjoyer in this matchup. I think Tamarcon is pretty good. So Rotting Host and Nurgle's favorite son. He's going to be able to stand up to most of the big Nurgle Ogre monsters. And from here, you can go Noxbringer if you want to try and contest a little bit, but unfortunately it's not very good against like Leadbelchers and Flingers. So I think you're going to have to eat it. Now in reserve, you want Angels of Decay. That is like literally your best counter against Thunder Tusks. So you want that, okay? You want a couple Furies. Furies are very good at fighting off Blood Vultures and also chasing down Leadbelchers. Probably 2 is adequate. You want to get the Rot Knights, just regular variant. I don't think you need the Arwar here. They're very good against the big threats. Now, Forsaken are actually reasonably good against Ogres. I think like 2 in reserve is probably going to be fine. And then you probably want to get a Plague Ogre with a Great Weapon to deal with the big threats, because you already have really good infantry killing power in your opening build, right? And with Tamarcon, you need a Nurgle Sorcerer. In this matchup, you always bring Rancid Visitations. Most of the time versus Ogres, you're dealing with like SE bullshit. You're dealing with like freaking Thunder Tusks and all those big Chunguses running around, right? So in that case, you go Rot Beast and you go Rancid Visitation and Fleshy Abundance. It's very good. That's how we won last time. We Rancid Visitation the Thunder Tusk and Angels decayed it, and then we called it a day, right? So that's pretty good. Out of the gates, probably 2 Marauder Horsemen would be the good way to kind of focus out this build. Yeah, because you have good fighting power here. The Marauder Horsemen are good against most of the roster. I think another Marauder Horseman here is going to be adequate, and then a Nurgling. And honestly, this build looks pretty good to me. Yeah, it's a really hard matchup, and you're not going to be favored. But you can win it. If you can bully their big monsters, using the Angels and then the Rot Knights and Plague Ogres get some momentum, and, you know, the Plague Bearers and Forsaken can grind to the ground. You can get her done, man. You can get her done. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. This is going to be Nurgle versus Ogres. This is Ogre Kingdoms. And let's see what's next. So next up, we have Tomb Kings. Hard matchup, very, very difficult. Nurgle is a bit polarizing. You have some matchups that are very, very doable, and then there's some that are pretty tough. Do I have a build for this one already? Let's see. Yeah, we do. Okay. So this has been my go-to in this matchup. And finally, you guys get to live your Nurgle power fantasy, which is basically having a Rotfly in the build, which is my new secret tech. So what we do here is we get double Exalted Hero on Rot Beast. These guys are to counter the Camarine War Sphinxes, to dive the Ushopti Grapos, and just be disruptive. We have a Nurgle Sorcerer with Rancid Visitations and Fleshy, and Rot Beast. So we have 3 really powerful combat characters to handle the mobility. Marauder Horsemen to give utility, Vanguard capture weight, and the Plague Drones. My theory with the Plague Drones is Ushopti Grapos are one of the biggest banes that you have, you know? So using the Plague Drones to like fly overhead and dive onto the backfield and potentially shut down the Ushopti Grapos with the Exalted Heroes is kind of the idea I've been playing with. Forsaken Rector Infantry. Plague Ogres are pretty good, although I don't know. Why do we have the anti-infantry variant? Okay, that's right. Yeah, we've started using 1 anti-infantry Plague Ogre to cut through their swaths of infantry. 2 more Marauder Horsemen, Angels of Decay, Plague Bearers, and Furies. Now, really, the hardest part about this matchup is, can you shut down the Camarine War Sphinxes, and can you shut down the Ushopti Grapos? If the answer is yes, you win the matchup. So that's why we have these guys to hunt the big beasties, Angels of Decay, Furies, and Plague Drones to do a little bit of work as well. And you know, there's an argument to be made for like throwing a Rot Knight in here. You know, 1 Plague Bearer in reserve is fine. You just call them out on your back point. But yeah, I like this build. I've almost beaten some very good Tomb Kings players with this. The normal Death Heads Grenadier are solid. Yeah, they can be okay, Sleepy Lion. Absolutely. I think they're good. I just really like the ROR because they have insane melee stats too. So you can use them a little bit more in a fighty way. But yeah, they're both viable options. But this has been my build against Tomb Kings. It's a hard matchup, and I think there's other ways to play it, but this has been my way to play it, my way or the highway. And yeah, it's done all right. So next up, we have Vampire Counts. So you guys saw this matchup on the tournament the other day. I played one of the stronger Vampire Count players in our community, and we had a pretty crushing victory using Kugath. Do we still have the build saved? I hope we do. Did I save that Tomb Kings build? I did. All right. So this is the build I've been using. Now, this works incredibly well if there's a safe home objective and you're just going to be fighting over 1 point. This build becomes exponentially weaker if you're going to be playing against a huge map like a Road to Talabheim or something, and you have to fight over multiple objectives. But Kugath with a Curse of the Leper, Rancid, and Fleshy, and Mortis Engine. Cultist on a Shrine is really good. You bring him with the Warrior Bane and the Icon of Eternal Virulence. He gives a huge amount of debuffs, and then you get a Beast of Nurgle. You have all these disgusting debuff characters and 2 Plague Bearers to boot. So Marauder Horsemen are going to be your best friends. And up in the sky, you have 2 Furies as well. Furies dominate. They trade really well into Vargeist, into Fellbats, all that good stuff. More Marauder Horsemen to counter Mortis Engine. Barons of the Bog to apply another layer of debuffs onto the blob fight. And you got Marauders as well as Pestigores here. This build is very, very strong. But a good Vampire Count player on a big map will maybe present some problems for you. So if you're playing on like a bigger map, what you probably do is you keep the Cultists, get rid of the Shrine, you downscale Kugath to a Exalted Great Unclean one, and you bring, you know, the same kit of spells. You bring Rancid and, you know, all that goodness here. You can cut Nurgling Emergence, Blight, Swarm, and Children of Nurgle. And now you have a little bit more, you know, mobility to work with. So you could like get like another Marauder Horseman if you want to, throw them in there, and then, you know, maybe another infantry unit. So like you suddenly become, you know, a little bit more dynamic and more mobile. But really, I think that the first build that we showed you guys is generally pretty brutal. If you're on a huge map, you can also mix in like a Soul Grinder too if you want to bombard. But really, I think that this style is very, very tough for the Vampire Counts to beat. They have to be the burden of winning is on them, because if they take a blob fight, they're going to lose to Kugath. But yeah, you know, even if they go mobility, you can call out Rotting Riders and Marauder Horsemen and contest that. But yeah, it really depends. Kugath does get ping-ponged a little bit. But yeah, a good matchup for Nurgle nowadays, I would say. All right, so next up we have Bretonia for the lady. So against Bretonia, do we have a build save for this one? I don't know if we do. Yeah, Bretonia's not super popular, but yeah, you need to put a lot of respect on the Green Knight nowadays. He's an absolute menace. So let me do this. Get this going here. And this is kind of something I've been cooking up. So you go with Spirit Leech and Fleshy, you bring a Demon Prince of Nurgle, and he should be able to smash the Green Knight pretty well. But we'll see. So Paragon of Decay, Demonic Onslaught, you got that, and perfect. So starting army against Peasant Archers, you're going to want to go with a lot of these guys, okay? And Noxbringer in this matchup, very good against Peasant Archers and a respectable magic damage fighter, right? So you have two guys here that are really, really strong in the fighting game. A couple Marauder Horsemen to grab some objectives out of the gates here. And in this matchup, you want Mass Pesties. They're really good against Bretonian Cavs. You want to go like Pentapesty. And even like some Chaos Warrior Grey Weapons can be good. Or if you want to get really saucy, which is how I like to roll, you open with a Chosen of Nurgle in the opening build. They're not going to have a fun time fighting that. They're really not. So yeah, we get you guys, throw the chevrons in there. You have to watch out though. Alberic can kind of bully this Demon Prince, you know, and Lewin can give him some trouble as well. So there is an argument to be made for not like maybe just going for a cheaper leadership kit, but I kind of like this. The Marauder Horseman, like as long as you're really careful with that Demon Prince, he should be a menace. And you can also, you know, potentially spend these chevrons and get like a Fate of Buna. Fate of Buna is a pretty good spell. So you can bring that against like Elite Bretonian Cav and all that goodness, right? He does have 2 Bound Stream of Corruptions too, which is really nice. Probably cut Children of Nurgle. Yeah, that's a nice one there. So Spirit Leech, Buna, and Fleshy. Very, very nasty. So from here, probably more Marauder Horsemen. Very good against a lot of what they present. I would say bringing the Rotting Riders is very good because that's another good counter against Green Knight. And then you can go Nurgling here. This looks like a very strong build. Plague Ogres are viable too. But basically your Chosen are just going to be indestructible Gods of War on one objective. And you can poke their archers with Noxbringer. And then just start pushing with Pesties, Great Weapons. Call in the Rotting Riders to contest the mobility. And you're probably going to be in pretty good shape here. You know, you could consider Angels of Decay. But if they go like Pegasus Knights or some weird shit like that, you're not going to have a good time. And I think that the Demon Prince is pretty cool. Be very careful with him, though. Don't dive recklessly. Use the Stream of Corruptions on their infantry. You know, cast Buna. Be very elusive. You know, because he is vulnerable to being hunted by Alberic. And if Alberic does hunt you, you need to use the Marauder Horsemen to support. You need to have them underneath the fight, punishing Alberic, right? And Green Knight, you can fight Green Knight with Noxbringer and with the Rotting Riders because of their magic damage. So you have a couple tools for that. So this would probably be the direction I would lean. So let's go ahead and save this. So this is going to be Nurgle, because Green Knight is all the hotness right now. And the Demon Prince is still good at fighting things that aren't Green Knight. Nurgle versus Bretonia. Yes. And, you know, what are some modifications we could do? Like some variants. You could go Tamer Chad. You know, Tamercon against these guys really isn't bad. You bring Rotting Host, Nurgle's Favored Son, and then you would need a Sorcerer in the build as well. So, yeah, you know what? This might be a little bit of a safer build. You go Rancid. Rancid will punish Green Knight. It'll punch him right in his stupid face. So you would do probably cut you and maybe just like mix in. It's a little bit more expensive. Maybe just get a Chaos Steed here, and then we can get a Chaos Warrior Grey open. So this is the Tamercon build, right? You have Tammy, and then yeah, the Pestigore is coming in. Maybe I'm kind of feeling like we might want some Forsaken. So maybe 3 Horsemen is enough. We can maybe go here, get a Forsaken unit, and get a Marauder Grey open or something. This build feels a little bit more well-rounded, actually. Although I do love the Chosen. Because Tamercon is harder to snipe. He can totally fight Green Knight, too, because he used the Black Cleaver, which actually gives magic damage. So if Green Knight comes in, you can fend him off. And then you get Rancid Visitations, but the Spirit Leech and Buna is good. So this can be Nurgle versus Bretonia, Tammy. I think both these options are fine. Yeah, so that's going to be the Tammy version. Yeah. It's just kind of a grind. Bretonia really struggles against Armored Grey Opens, like really, really badly. And I think this build would be pretty good. Yeah. Oh, you know, Bile Trolls, too, might be worth bringing in this matchup. But Bile Trolls will probably get wrecked by Green Knight and by Alberic. So I think they're too risky. Yeah, a little bit too risky. Plague Ogre is also viable, too. You could totally bring a Plague Ogre. Like, if I wanted to, I cut this and throw in, like, a, you know, Plague Ogre somehow. Like, you know, find the money here. I think that's a viable choice too. But yeah, you guys more or less get the idea for the matchup. So next up we have Dark Elves. So Dark Elves, I did have a good loss against them recently. So let's get the build. And I was able to fine tune from there. So Nurgle versus Dark Elves. Was this it? Yeah, this was it. Okay. So then we have against Bretonnia, we have the Dork Elves. So against Dork Elves, I like Festus is actually pretty good here. Rancid and Fleshy. He can help you just grind out on an objective, but you need bodyguards in this matchup. You know, you got a settings video somewhere? No, not yet. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah. Does this game have a good AI? I kind of want to play it, but yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's like any other single player grand strategy game. You're eventually just going to figure out how to troll the AI, you know? But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, against Dark Elves, you use Kha'Zix and the Exalted Hero to bully their dragon character, or to bully the Medusas or the War Shrines, okay? Marauder Horsemen are going to be countering the mobility, like the Cold One Knights, as well as the Dark Riders. You can fight them off with Fury support. And the Noxbringer, you're going to use that to shut down their range skirmish. Overall, you know, then you just start spamming out cost-effective infantry and control the objectives. Pretty straightforward. You know, these guys deal with the SEs. Festus and the infantry win the objectives. Noxbringer deals with the range units, with the Chaos Fury support. Battletoads are actually pretty good here. I like one. Although arguably, I think I would probably switch it for a third Fury. Furies are just game changers in the matchup. Bile Trolls are nice to help deal with armor, like Corsairs and anything fancy like that. And then you have the Pestigors as well. So that is going to be Nurgle versus the Dark Elves. Pretty good. I think it works all right. Yeah, the AI, I mean, campaign AIs, it is what it is, you know. Yeah, that's why I like multiplayer. I prefer it because the AI is just a little too easy to figure out. Okay, so next up we're going to be talking about Grand Cathay. So we got Grand Cathay. Very cool faction. Do I have a build for Grand Cathay? They're not very popular, so no. I don't have too much love for them right now. So Cathay, you have two ways to play Cathay. All right, you can go face to foot style and go super wide and try and push them back, or you can actually try and value trade. Attacking an entrenched Cathay position is basically a death sentence. I am actually, one of my favorite secret techs I've been utilizing is the double Exalted Hero and Chariot. And then you go Chaos Sorcerer. These guys are super, super disruptive, and this works very well against dwarves. You want to go Stream of Corruption with Fleshy Abundance and Crown of Everlasting Conquest. Sometimes you'll see a Dragon Twin, which can threaten the Exalted Heroes, but you just run away from them. It's like, you know, you don't need to put too much respect on their name. So you open with shielded units, Pestigors in reserve. On some maps, you can use the Noxbringer. If you're on a map with like good line of sight, so cannons can't shoot, you go, oh, that's right, cannons. Yeah. So the Chariot tech is good if it's not a cannon friendly map. But if it is a cannon friendly map, what you do is you just go on foot. So you just put them on foot. So let's do the safer, more conservative build maybe. Or do we go on horseback? Yeah, horseback's fine too. Because chariots get double tapped by cannons. So I think overall, if we're giving you like a generalist build, like a safe build, put the Exalted Heroes on horseback. And then we got the Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle here. And that's a good middle ground because now these guys can fight the Dragon Twins. They can fight other things like that. So I really like to press Cathay's and triple cap them. So I'm going to put two Pestigors in my starting build and Vanguard them on Cathay's, one of their objectives. It's very, very strong. And then we can do two Marauder Horsemen as well. That's like a pretty nice, like standard anti-Cathay opening army. Furies are good for shutting down some of the range units. I don't hate Bile Trolls. I think a Bile Troll is really good against Cathay armor. And we can bring in some Forsaken just to rip apart peasants and pressure objectives effectively. Angels of Decay and those sort of units, I don't think so. You know, I don't think you need it. Have you faced a drum army post-patch turn? I've been using it in the Peasant Archers, Stop Chariots, and Cab, but yeah, I mean, it's scary, but I would just play the other two objectives. If you play a drum build against me, I'm just going to run to the other two objectives. But that is where you can maybe mix in Noxbringer. You could even consider having Noxbringer in reserve, right? Like, if your opponent... But, like, having Noxbringer in the starting army is so good. It's so good. Because it's, like, if Cathay has cannons and it's a cannon-friendly map, it feels really bad. But if they don't, it could be, like, game-changing. So maybe we do go Noxbringer. I have a bit of an idea about this one. So how can we save some dough here? We can cut Children of Nurgle. Oh God, we're just just barely short of this. We could put you on a horse, I guess. Yeah, maybe like something like this out of the gates could be nice. Because here you can press the objectives pretty hard, you know, and then Noxbringer, is so good against Cathay shooting. And if they do go cannon, you know, you can probably line of sight it on most good maps, you know. So we bring some great weapon boys here. The great weapons are quite nice. Yeah, and then we got Noxbringer and maybe 2 Marauder Horsemen, and then maybe a single Marauder Great Weapon just to get up and get the goodies. Or we can do the Blisterback Nurglings. That's actually good. They can grab. So here's what you do. You grab the home point with the Frolickers Bubonic, okay? And then you harass their back point with the Horsemen of the Pestigors while bombarding their army with Noxbringer out of line of sight of cannons. And for the rest of the build here, I think a couple Poison Hounds are, you know, not bad in this matchup. And what else do we want to bring? I don't know. I don't think we need Chaos Knights or Rot Knights in this matchup. Not really necessary. You could like throw in 1 Chaos Warrior Great Open. Just have some Giga Chad Fighting Warrior or something, right? He can definitely do some bump and grind. But I think the mobility is more punishing against Cathay. Yeah, we got 975 here. We got 2 Great Opens in reserve. Probably better to just go wider and, yeah, get another Hound. Yeah, I like this build. This build feels... So this would be like Nurgle versus Cathay bad LOS cannon. So that's going to be like Nurgle versus Cathay when cannons don't have good LOS. Now, if they have good LOS, and cannons are going to be probably a thing, you can do the foot characters, but honestly, horseback is probably fine. And then we would change up the build. So we would probably go with the Shielded Marauders like we originally had planned. I actually like the triple Pestigore in the opening to really... The idea with this is we're just all up on their objectives. We like triple cap them out of the gates and just make it as difficult as possible, right? We got the Poison Hounds. Don't really need to change too much in the army here. You can actually mix in 1 Plague Ogre. Like a Plague Ogre anti-infantry is actually not bad against Grand Cathay. Cathay just half the time... Yeah, they have a tough time playing objectives, exactly. Yeah, so you got to like play into their... You know, punish them for their weakness here. 1 more Marauder Horseman Throwing Axe. Like something like this looks very cost effective against Cathay. So this would be like Nurgle versus Cathay open map. So this would be like an open map kind of version, right? Yeah, so hopefully this will give you guys tools for like different map types where it can work. But Noxbringer will get Cathay cannon pretty badly on some maps. Triple Sky Junk, oh my god. You got that junk in that trunk, dude. All right, so now one of my favorite matchups that I've been having a really good win rate, despite Wrathmongers being kind of BS, is Nurgle versus Khorne. So against Khorne, what I like to do is use Tamarkon. So very straightforward. Tamarkon on the Toad Dragon. He anchors your melee fight. Now, what counters Tamarkon? Marauder Horsemen Throwing Axes. If you kill those guys with the Noxbringer, you butter their bread. You just spread that butter all over those freaking horsemen's faces. If you drain their ammunition... Tamarkon, the Chosen of Nurgle, and the Barons of the Bog are going to win the melee fight. Valkia can't do shit against Tamarkon. Tamarkon beats the brakes off Valkia, and even if they go with like a Big Daddy character, I still feel confident Tamarkon with a Rancid Visitations, Curse of the Leper kind of support, Rotting Riders can get the job done. This build is very good. Now, you might get caught off guard if your opponent comes in with like, you know, a Scarbrand or something, but I still think... You could probably fight Scarbrand. I think maybe some minor adjustments might be needed here, but Rotting Riders are really good here in this matchup with the magic damage against like Fleshhounds, all those kind of units. Probably cut Barons of the Bog, actually. This build's a little bit old, so I'm going to update it, and get 2 Marauder Horsemen of your own. This is the sauce, because then you have tools. You kill their Horsemen with Noxbringer and Furies, and then you use Marauder Horsemen there. If you have Fury versus Fury fighting... You get Curse of the Leper on your caster, and your Furies will win that fight. Infantry, Pestigors are really good. Just throw Pestigors in there underneath Tamarkon and the Chosen and stuff, and you're going to have a good time. Yeah, you're going to have a good time. All right, so that is going to be a slightly updated build, but still very, very good. So that is going to be Nurgle versus Khorne. Now, there is another variant I've used with the Great Unclean One. It's something like this. So this build's very fun too. If you want the Mortis engine, you bring a Great Unclean One with Curse of the Leper and Fleshy. You need Curse of the Leper to stop Wrathmongers. And you bring a regular Toad Dragon. And then you bring... This build is exponentially more durable against Greater Demons. If you're facing Scarbrand, the Toady plus the Great Unclean One can totally beat the brakes off him. And then you get the Noxbringer to kill their Horsemen. Pretty much everything else about the build is identical. This build is a little bit more user-friendly, but I personally like the Tamarkon variant just because he's my favorite character. But Both these builds are completely viable and come down to how effectively are you going to use the Noxbringer to deal with the Marauder Horsemen. Should be pretty doable though, honestly. Should be pretty doable. Okay, so that is that. Now let me check here and go to the next matchup. So we got Norska next. Norska is a fun matchup, actually. I don't know if I have a build for that one. We're going to find out right now. Okay, so versus Norska. Do I have a build? It's been a while. Doesn't look like it. That's pretty fine. It's pretty straightforward. So, all right. So against Norska, you want to open with the front line of Marauders, and then backed up by Plague Bears. Plague Bears are very good against Norska. They trade well into like most of their shit. Then you want Noxbringer. Noxbringer is to counter the Javelins and their Marauder Horsemen, which again is one of your biggest weaknesses. And you go Tamarcon in this matchup. Tamarcon's very, very good here. So you can go this, and you can probably go, yes. So Tamarcon, you bring pretty much all his stuff, like all his abilities are good here. And then you want a Nurgle Sorcerer. Okay, so Nurgle Sorcerer, you want to go with the Lore of Nurgle. And you want to bring Rancid and Fleshy Abundance. Very, very strong kit here. Because you can snipe their mammoths, snipe their characters, all that sort of good stuff. You could just throw him on like a Chaos Steed or something. Totally fine. So this is your opening build out of the gates. Now, one of the first things you want to call in probably are Marauder Horsemen. So you're going to have 3 of those. Forsaken are really good here as well. Chosen, you can occasionally slip some Chosen in there, but Angels of Decay 100% against Mammoth and a lot of the big threats they can present. That's very, very good. Battletoads are good against like Berserker type infantry, so I think 1 Battletoad here is not bad. Bile Trolls are pretty bad against Skinwolves. Skinwolves are very strong, so you don't want to present too many things that Skinwolves counter. But Skinwolves will struggle against Rot Knights. See, Rot Knights and Chef's Kiss. We just nailed that. That build is strong. It's going to present a lot of problems for Norska. And I think it's pretty sweet. Tamarcon can push back most of the big threats. Noxbringer's just feasting and bombarding. You can also upgrade the Plague Bearers into Chosen if you want to. Like, I think that's totally a viable playstyle. So if you want to do this, you can totally get like a shielded Chosen. And yeah, like this build style is very good too. And you can throw in another Warrior if you want to, or just like keep that Plague Bearer and, you know, maybe grab an extra spell or something, right? Get the Missile Resist Aura, whatever. This is pretty good. Although, you could maybe squeeze in a Nurgling here. Let's see if we can get a little Nurgling action in here. Rotting Host is all right. Probably not super good in this matchup. So, yeah, this build might actually be better. This build might actually be better. I think this is my final answer. Chosen, Plague Bearer, Chosen wreck like all of their infantry and take like 10 years to kill. Because if you shut down the Mammoth, what the hell is going to kill the Chosen, right? This build looks pretty freaking sweet. Pestigores aren't super good in this matchup. I think the Forsaken are your best reinforcing piece. And we're going to go ahead and save that one for now. So that is going to be Nurgle versus Norska. Now, what's fun, though, about Nurgle is, like, this isn't the only way to play this matchup. There's a couple ways you can go about it. Like, if you want to use a Sorcerer Lord and have, like, a wider army, you totally can. I personally just really like Tamarcon. Because, like, if they go Skinwolf Werekin, you can use the... we can actually even upgrade you to Rot Beast, right? Yeah, we could. Theoretically, you can go to Rot Beast. Yeah, probably maybe like this. So you can use Tamarcon of the Chaos Sorcerer to fight those characters, and you also have the Noxbringer, which can help. This like style, even the build I just had with the Nurgling is totally good. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Next up, we have the Skaven, the rat people. All right, let's get these stinky little rats and see how we do it. This matchup is a little tricky. Pretty even, though, I would say. So do we have a build for Skaven? I don't know if we do. Oh, we do. Great. So let's see how outdated it is. Nope, that looks pretty much up to date except these things. These things suck, so you cut those. Okay, so here's what's cooking. You get Festus, really good with Rancid and Fleshy. You get 2 Cultists on foot. Super tough for the Skaven to deal with. And then what are the Skaven going to do? They're going to call in Flesh Mowers. They're going to call in all those kind of units, right? So you basically, Festus can grind out an objective with the Cultist. Plague Bears are really tough to kill. You put shields in front. And you have a Plague Ogre in reserve with the Plague Toads to try and nibble on the mowers and all those kind of scary tools. And yeah, you just kind of push the Skaven back, with your cultists and like your big army here. Surprise, no trolls. Yeah, trolls against Norska are okay, but the problem is Skinwolves are really, really rough. You could probably mix in a Bile Troll in the current like meta against Skaven. Just like 1 Bile Troll wouldn't probably be bad, and upgrade these guys to the ROR. I think it's pretty nice. Let's get you guys in the mix here. We got, what, 600 Gs? Is there anything else we could do? Yeah, Furies are 600, a bit of an awkward amount of money. So Bile Trolls, now that they lower leadership, I think are probably a good tech in this matchup because they can bully Skaven positions. I don't think that's bad. You also get a Plague Ogre to call in. Rot Knights are too expensive. Skaven will probably be able to accrue a lot of value against those. And, you know, there is an argument to be made to have your cultists on horseback, but I think on foot is just a little bit stronger. Yeah, I think if we can find a way to get one more Marauder Horseman, that's good. I do like Battletoads here, though. They're very cost-effective to stack under your kind of trash tier infantry. And maybe just like one Great Weapon Warrior in case they go Storm Vermin isn't a bad idea. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky. Although, yeah, we don't have any Poison Hounds. I definitely want some Poison Hounds in this matchup. And, yeah, 2 Marauder Horsemen. Marauder Horsemen are another one of your main answers against Doom Flayers, you know? Oh, man, such an awkward spend here. I like the Plague Ogre Great Weapon because they counter the Rat Ogres. They're very, very disruptive here. It's a tricky one, though. Skaven can definitely shoot you off the table if you're not careful. Nurglings are also not bad, too. I really am a big Forsaken enjoyer, but Plague Bearers are really nice here. Like, being healed by Festus is so good for them. So maybe we just get rid of you. You get the dreaded double Nurgling. Yeah, I think the double Nurgling might be better because they can fight the clan rats and get up on the objectives. And yeah, it's an awkward amount of money to have left over, but you know, what can you do? I mean, I could maybe upgrade one of the Forsaken units, get you 575. Yeah, that is another Forsaken we could get in the mix. Like a Forsaken, yeah, this is actually probably the way. Something like this. This build looks very nice. Because you have answers for Doom Flayers in the Horsemen, the Plague Ogres, and the Bile Trolls. You'll win the infantry grind. Dealing with the Globadiers is kind of tough, but you can deal with the Globadiers using the Cultists. So you get the Cultists to move on top of them and grind them down and summon Plague Bear. So I think that is going to be fine. All right, so next up we have Tzeentch, another friggin' accursed matchup. Tzeentch isn't as hard as Demons of Chaos, but it's still pretty difficult. Yeah, I don't think I have a build for this one. Okay, so we're going to have to do this raw dog it. So let's go Tzeentch here. And we're going to do old Nurgle. Let's get it going. Yeah, Trolls are a good answer to player. I think 1 is fine. 2 might be too much. 2 might be too much. Okay, so now we're against Tzeentch. This matchup sucks, dude. It's so miserable to play. I think against Tzeentch, we open with the Marauders. You could go Shielded Warrior spam, because Tzeentch... Here's the thing, guys. Tzeentch does not really have like a good monstrous infantry unit that can bully down your... Yes, maybe we go shield spam. Like a warrior wall, something like this. We're definitely going to want some Furies in reserve. So 3 Furies in reserve. And we want to bring probably a Nurgle Sorcerer is going to be the play. So we're going to go for probably... Spell spam, not so much here. I think that we need to get Fleshy to keep our character alive, and then maybe this, although spell spam will be a little bit better. Maybe spell spam. Yeah, we go Stream, Miasma, and Curse of the Leper to trigger the Lord passive. We'll get you on Rot Beast. And Marauder Horsemen are probably necessary just to have something. And then maybe we cut you, and we need to find a way to get the Noxbringer in this build, I think. So yeah, Noxbringer is going to be good at kind of playing the mobile game. Okay, so something like this out of the gates. Pestigors are pretty good in this matchup. They can trade into Zangors and various warrior equivalents pretty effectively, right? Tzeentch might bring like a big chicken, but the big chicken, I think we just kind of have to ignore it. I don't think there's too much we could do to fight that thing. Angels of Decay, I mean, they could go for like a crazy Mutalith Beast or something, but I just think that's not going to be super good. We want a couple Forsaken in here in reserve. And do we want to bring like a Rot Knight? What is Rot Knight good against? It's not a whole lot, really. Chaos Knight might be a better choice. You do have to deal with the Centaurs of Tzeentch, which are a little bit scary, but I actually like a single Chaos Knight against Tzeentch. Because they can fight the Centaurs if you support them. Like if you use Miasma, Pestilence, or Curse of the Leper on them, I think they should win those fights. Yeah. The Chariot Exalted Hero is a little bit scary for sure. It is on Tzeentch. It's very good against the Nurgle infantry, but you do have the Marauder Horsemen to poke. Maybe we in reserve bring like a big pimpin' of our own. Yeah, I think we maybe think about that. So we would put you on the Rot Beast and get you on these, and maybe bring the Missile Resist item. Although it's not going to save you. So yeah, we have, in case they do go like chariot heavy, we can call in the exalted hero to bully that character. And then we got 675. So maybe something like this. The problem is like we just kind of get dicked by the changebringers here. Although if we go for maybe Fury control of the skies, right? So if we control the skies with the Furies, using the spell support of Miasma and Curse, if we beat the Tzeentch Furies, then we can chase the Changebringers around. And then we have Marauder Horsemen to hustle them as well. I think this build actually is fine. Noxbringer can also help with that a little bit and can also drain the ammunition of some of the Tzeentch ranged boys. Yeah, that feels pretty okay. I mean, it's a hard matchup, but yeah, Nurgle versus Tzeentch. All right. So next up, we have the Warriors of Chaos. Do I have a matchup for Walk? Walk is a weird matchup. It's a weird one. Nurgle versus Walk. I don't think we do, so that's fine. So let's switch you over here and do this and get it going. How you guys doing, by the way? Thank you for joining. It's been a fun little stream we've had tonight. The good times are rolling. The good times are rolling. All right. So against Walk, you have to watch out for Archaon. Archaon will beat the brakes off Festus, right? So I think there's a couple ways of going about this. You can go with like Tamarkon if you want to. He's a pretty good fighter into a lot of what Walk likes to bring. But also the Chaos Lord maybe is a little bit better with the mobility. So yeah, I think that I like that more. Rot or Die, Father of Blades, and Rot or Die. We can kind of keep those two abilities. So then we're going to bring you and go for this. I think we go sniping. Rancid plus Fleshy is the way to go. Cut Children, Nurgle, and Evasion. So we have two Rot Beast characters that can probably fight Archaon. Yeah, that can probably fight him, right? And one of the big things with Nurgle is defeating the enemy skirmish. So you bring Noxbringer again. Anytime you're dealing with Marauder Horsemen, just bring Noxbringer. It's very, very good. You have to worry about Blood Beasts and Aspiring Champions. Okay, so Aspiring Champions are very meta, so you're going to max out on Pestigors. They're going to be your best friend. Bringing a Chosen Great Weapon isn't actually like a bad idea in my book. I think a Chosen Great Weapon could potentially catch them off guard. We're going to go with one Bile Troll in reserve, although the Hellstriders are a problem. So I think we need to go for the Rot Knights and the Plague Ogre Great Weapons, right? So we should win the infantry fight. With like Chosen of Nurgle and Pesties, we should beat like all the Walk infantry. You know, we got the Noxbringer to deal with their horsemen. We have this Giga Chad Chaos Lord to fight it out. We're going to go ahead and get the... is there any way I can find a little bit of money in this build? Not so much. We could bring Children of Nurgle. Yeah, might as well. And then we can get a Nurgling in there. That opening build looks pretty good. The Chaos Lord is a great fighter. He's very strong. Tamarkon is good, but this guy has 75 speed, so we can keep up with the Chaos or the mobility a little bit better, I think. We're going to want two Marauder Horsemen, at least two. Furies, yeah, like one Fury just to like dive like a Hell Cannon in the back, I think is going to be good. And do we need Angels of Decay? Do we need them? Angels, what are they good against? Yeah, you know, Warriors of Chaos can't really present any... they really can't present anything in the air to deal with Angels. So I think we cut the Plague Ogres and we get the Angels of Decay, right? Because these things will shut down a Hell Cannon. They're going to punish Archaon. They're going to punish Kolek. I think we have the infantry fight covered with like Chosen and all these characters, right? I like this build. I think it's pretty okay. A little bit of an awkward spend here. Let's see if we can get like one Forsaken in reserve. Yeah, that's probably a little bit cleaner. Get that extra Forsaken in there and then just call in Pestigors into the sunset. But this is good. You're making sure there's no Skaven into the walls of your house? Yeah, yeah. All right, I like this build. This build feels pretty good. Because, yeah, you can... The Blood Beasts, you can counter them using the Rot Knights and then also Angels and your characters. The Chosen should grind pretty well. And, yeah, you have answers to shut down the Hell Cannon, too, I think. I don't know. There's a couple ways you could approach this build. I think you could maybe use even a Flying Lord, like a Herald, with Spirit Leech. That would actually not be bad either. I mean, there's a lot of ways to play this, but Noxbringer plus these characters should be able to beat Archaon 3v1, I think. So, Nurgle versus Walk. Okay. There we go. So, next up, what do we got? So, next up, we have Chaos Dwarfs. This is a weird matchup. It's not one I played a lot. I don't think I've played this one in ages. Yeah, it's been a while. So Face the Foot style is pretty good against Chorfs. Like Chorfs are not good at dealing like being zerged down, although they do have those really good skirmishers. That's the problem. The fire damage skirmishers are going to be very punishing against you. So one sec here. Shit, I don't remember which one of these drinks is. There we go. Okay. So against Chowie, you have the freaking trains, which are a pain in the butt. Tamarcon may be okay here. I think that this is probably a Chaos Lord matchup for me. I think we go Chaos Lord, Rot or Die, cut these, and just put them on the Rot Beast. And then we get a Sorcerer as well. Fighting the SE fight is very good against these guys. So we're going to go Fleshy and Rancid, because that gives us tools against the train. And from here, we can even go Kha'Zix if we want to. Kha'Zix's a pretty nice little fighter, although he is weak to fire damage, so maybe we consider bringing a Exalted Giga Chad instead on the Rot Beast. So we have these two really powerful characters that can contest the train. We're going to need Marauder Horseman as well. Noxbringer's okay in this matchup, but I don't think... Because if they go Deathstreak Rocket Launcher, you're going to have a really bad time with your Noxbringer. So I think you don't do that. Pestigors counter like most of the Chorf infantry pretty effectively, and then Forsaken will get up there quickly and provide good utility. Chorfs are pretty good. Yeah, they're a very strong faction. Furies are great in this matchup. Incredibly disruptive. Bile Troll, what is Bile Troll good against? Probably not super good. The Chorfs are just riddled with fire damage, so that's going to be a bit of a scary for you. And we can bring, with our extra money we have here... The Plague Ogres are not bad. I actually think a Plague Ogre Great Open might be superior to the Rot Knight here. It's just cheaper and get out. We have plenty of anti-large with the Horsemen, and our characters are like basically anti-large. You know, they can hunt that shit down. Angels of Decay could be warranted. Yeah, what can they present in the skies? Not a whole lot. So maybe we do Angels of Decay instead. So we would cut one Pesty, slap Angels of Decay in reserve. And we have the 3 Pestigors, so I think we can we afford both of these? We can't. Okay, so we're going to have to just basically go for Nurgling plus you in reserve, and then in the starting army. Vanguarding up on them isn't a bad idea either. But yeah, dealing with the skirmishers is tough, although maybe, I mean, like I'm borderline interested in the Noxbringer here, but I don't think so. Battletoads aren't bad. They give you a little bit of mass. We can bring some Forsaken. Yeah, but the big thing is killing the train, right? So the train we should be able to kill with Angels, Rancid. These characters can totally fight a Bale Taurus character as well. I think we're going to be more than up to the task of fighting a Bale Taurus. Yeah, we got 3 Pesties in reserve. We could maybe go double Pestigor in our starting army just to get the objectives quickly. I think this is pretty good. Yeah, feels nice to me. We have like really good anti-SE, which is what Chorfs love to abuse, and Pestigors should trade pretty damn well into the Chowie infantry. You know, arguably maybe mixing in like a great weapon sleeper in the back, but I think cheaper infantry is better because if the trains get you or the Bale Taurus gets you, it's going to feel bad. So that is going to be Nurgle versus Chowie. I'll say put Chorfs. Chorfs a little bit easier to find. All right, so next up, what do we got? We have Slaanesh. Oof, God, this matchup sucks. Slaanesh is like, we're going to assume Seekers and Heartseekers are allowed. Yeah, shit's just busted, but yeah, it's hard to deal with. So now into Slaanesh. Although Seekers and Heartseekers are banned right now, but they might come back. I'm just going to, yeah, you have to use the Noxbringer. The Noxbringer is super good against their skirmishers and also really good against their demon units and whatnot, right? For the rest of the infantry, Plague Bearers are pretty okay, actually. They'll trade, I would say, pretty damn cost effectively into most of their units. So you can go with a couple Plague Bearers. For your Lord choice, probably a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle with Death. And you would use Spirit Leech and you would use Buna, I think. Yeah, because that's so good against Slaanesh. Like any of their cost-effective mobility or lords, they all hate being Spirit Leeched. So, and we get you on Rot Beast. So this would be your starting army. Unfortunately, you're not going to have like the heal. I mean, you can do like a cheeky tech like this. If you want to, you can get like a Nurgle basic sorcerer in reserve and cut like everything and just, you know, have him pop out for 700 gold and heal you. So that's actually not a bad idea. In case they go Whip Warrior, you probably want to go Pesty, I think. I think it's going to be fine. And in the anti-infantry department, we're going to we can cut you. Marauder Horsemen are a little bit risky because they tend to get hit by Pavanes. So I think maybe having Marauder Horsemen in reserve is going to be slightly stronger. And you could start with the Plague Ogre in your main army, actually. That wouldn't be bad. Rot Knights are going to be bad because the armor piercing on their cav, they're just going to crush you. You're going to want some Furies to contest the mobility game. Furies are actually really good against Slaanesh cav. They wreck Hellstriders. So that's very, very strong. Cultists are an option too. Like we could do double Cultist on the ground. So Gates of Nurgle, and then, yeah, or just a single cultist. I think that's fine. I think that is A-okay. Angels of Decay, too risky. And Battletoads in reserve. Battletoads are pretty good against demonic infantry. You could theoretically go with the Barons of the Bog to try and, wreck their greater demon ladies. I think like a Plague Ogre might be okay just to deal with all the mass like Hellstrider spam. And we might need like some Forsaken are going to have a bad time versus a lot of their units though, so I don't even know if this is a Forsaken matchup. Bile Trolls are going to get isolated by Hellstriders and killed, so you don't want that. Yeah, I think the Plague Bearer is a pretty good infantry choice here. We can even go with the 15. We're like just short. That feels so bad. Is there any way we can get that money here? Is there any way we can get it? Yeah, we can just go on a steed here. Maybe Festering Stooges. Festering Stooges are pretty nasty. They're hard to drag down. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. Okay, let's like shut that shit down here. Yeah, shut that down. There we go. That I like that opening build actually. That feels pretty clean. Chaos Knights, no thank you. Pretty much all of our mobility has a bad time here. I think we just got to use the last of our money on one of you. Cut this, and then we can get like one Forsaken just as a quick reinforce. I like this. This army feels decent against Slaanesh. The Spirit Leech Buna with the backup healing is pretty clutch. Noxbringer is good. You have some anti-large here. Yeah, tricky matchup, but I think it's winnable. Like, I would bring this against either like Band Seekers or Heart Seekers, or even against regular Heart Seekers. But the thing is, if here's okay, we can make this very simple. If Seekers and Heart Seekers are banned, you would probably just like cut the Plague Ogre and cut one Fury and get the Rot Knights and an Nurgle. So it's a very simple change. If Seekers and Heart Seekers are banned, you bring a Rot Knight. If they aren't, you get a Plague Ogre, great weapon, and then you just mix in whatever else in the build, and you're going to be okay. So. Let's go ahead and save this, though. This is the more of the generalist one. So that's going to be Nurgle versus, what the hell faction was that? That was Slaanesh. Now, the old meta against Slaanesh was Kugath, but any player worth their salt is going to ignore you, probably. Although, okay, let's say you're on a map. This is like Nurgle versus Slaanesh, open field. This is like open field. You have to contest 2 objectives, okay? If you're playing against Slaanesh on like a Celestial Lake, you would do a build like this because they just will like suffer bad. You go this, you go Noxbringer. Yeah, let's get you in the build. This was like the old meta against Slaanesh, and they would just struggle. It was not good for them. But like with the changes to Pavane and a couple other elements, like I think the first build I showed you guys is just way stronger. So you got Big Daddy Kugath here. He's going to guarantee you 1 point the entire game, right? Fury's here, Pestigores, Into the Sunset. Let's get all those Pesties there. A couple more Plague Bearers trying to hold that back point. And you could do like a Battletoad to try and counter like Exalted Demonettes, or maybe just the Barons of the Bog on this build would be good. And yeah, you would need some anti-large of some sort, so probably you could just cut one of these guys and get like a Plague Ogre, Great Weapon or something. Yeah. Something like this would be fine. Or you could try and get the Rot Knights here, like on the back point, and yeah, get the Nurglings. Yeah, so this actually looks a little bit better. This is like Nurgle versus Slaanesh if you have a safe home point that they can't really harass. So Nurgle versus Slaanesh, safe home. We'll just call that the safe home build. But like most good this build, I would recommend the first build more. This build, most good Slaanesh players, you're just going to find a way to get your back objective, and you're going to be waddling with Kugath like an idiot and just struggling. So I would say the first one's better, but this gives you an option, Why did we go to Slaanesh? Did we skip? We skipped dwarves. Okay, so we're going to go do dwarves now. Sorry about that. Nurgle versus dwarves. I've had some solid wins in this matchup recently, so we have a couple builds here, I think. Let's find this. Hold on. So Nurgle versus Dowie. This is my favorite. Any map against the Dowie where they do not have access to good cannon line of sight, you go Noxbringer, Sleeper Chosen, and wait, no, that's the wrong build. I was going to say that's first Beastman. I was like, it's very similar though, the Nurgle versus Dwarf build. There it is. Okay. So double Exalted Giga Chad of Nurgle on Chariot. Double. These guys annihilate miners with blasting charges. They just seriously flatten dwarves. And then you get a Nurgle Sorcerer with Stream of Corruption and Fleshy. 2 Horsemen and an Oxbringer to shoot the ammunition off their units and to just harass them. Pestigors, Forsaken, and a single anti-infantry Plague Ogre is actually sleeper really good against dwarves. This build against Dowie, I crushed some really strong Dowie players with this build. But if there's open field and there's cannons, you can lose your characters, and that's how you have a bad time. Basically, the philosophy is you attack their back objective, let them have the middle. Then when they rotate, you then start pushing with Pestigors and Plague Ogres and Forsaken and Furies and shit. Gyrocopters, you can chase them with Furies and Marauder Horsemen. That's basically how you do that. So, yeah, that, I think Nurgle versus Dwarves is the double Exalted Chariot. I don't think I have another version of that, but really, this build's very, very strong. I had a lot of success. If you're worried about getting cannonballed, there are other ways to play against the Dwarves, and I can show you that as well. So, if we are playing against Dwarves and we're worried about getting cannonballed in the face, you're going to go Nurgle Sorcerer Lord. He's just the go-to. Stream of Corruption and Fleshy. Crown of Everlasting Conquest. And we can do this and this. Rot Beast. And you're going to go double Exalted Hero. Either on horseback or on foot. Probably on horseback. Because horseback, you don't have, or Rot Beast, you don't have as many problems with the cannons on a mount like that. So let's do this. And then for the main army, you open with Shielded Marauders. 2 or 3 Pestigors to play their back objective. And then Marauder Horsemen help there. And you can even mix in like a Poison Hound or something. So the idea is you like hit their back objective. Very similar, but really, I would recommend the the Barge you can take down with Furies. It's not that big of a deal. They usually will lose on objectives with the Thunder Barge. Something like this, and then in reserve you just max out like Pestigors and a couple of Forsaken, which are really good. Marauder, great weapons against Dowie. Another one of these, and then obviously we need some Furies. So we cut you, get another Fury, and then get like a Nurgling or something. Like some style like this would be fine, although I do like the idea of mixing in a Plague Ogre with anti-infantry. But yeah, this would be work as well, but really I think the first build, if you're... this build is really, really strong. Hey Shibu, what's up? Yeah, we're doing the Nurgle build guide. This build is really brutal against blasting charges. It like wrecks it. Like these chariots don't give a shit about blasting charges. Noxbringer will drain their ammo off their rangers and stuff. And it's incredibly troll. It's very, very good. But you need to attack their back objective and force them to split their army. If you try and take a dwarf army head on with this build, you're going to lose. You need to force them to split. Basically is what's cooking. All right. So next up we have the Greenskins. A matchup that's pretty hard, but winnable. So Nurgle versus Greenskins. I should have a build for this. Yeah, so I like to use this build. Basically, you use Tamarcon, and you mix him with the Bile Trolls to get a -12 leadership aura. Tamarcon fights their Lord. It fights their Boarboy Biggins. It fights their Colossal Squigs. It fights all that shit. For your Wizard, you go pure sniping. Rancid to snipe their Lord, and Fleshy to keep Tamarcon and Noxbringer alive. Noxbringer shoots archers. You use Marauders to push up. Plague Toads to stop mass from bullying your battle lines. And then Forsaken Pestigors, Plague Ogres, and Rot Knights to deal with all the mass. Like the Boarboy Biggins and all that kind of stuff. You know, all that goodness. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys. And so next up, in our next disappearing act, what is going to be cooking here? This is probably the most consistent build I've had against Greenskins. The -12 leadership combo, the anti-large kit here to deal with the Boarboy spam and the Squigs, and then you just infantry grind it and have a good time. There are other ways to do it, but that's been my style that I've used lately. So now we have Kislev. All right, so Kislev, do we have a build for Kislev? I don't think we do. I did win this matchup recently against a pretty good player. I think we go Tammy. Was it Tammy or no? I think it was double. No, we don't. Here's what we do against Kislev. So we go double Exalted Hero on Rot Beast, because these guys can totally fight like Frostworms and any of their big units and are also really tanky. And you go Sorcerer Lord. Sorcerer Lord is going to be bringing 3 spells. So Stream, Rancid, and Fleshy. Stream is really good against all the Kislev infantry. And then you use Fleshy Abundance to cook from there. All right. So next up, we go Rot Beast here. So we have triple powerful combat character. And we're going to go ahead and get the Noxbringer to counter their archers in range. Little Grom is scary, but with good micro, you can actually avoid Little Grom. It's not easy, but it's very doable. And then we go Marauder spam, and we're going to go Mass Pestigore in reserve. And a couple Forsaken are like hard counters against Kislevites warriors. So if they're presenting a lot of Halberd warriors and Kossars, the Forsaken will rip them to shreds. It's really, really nice. All right, so Rot Knights in reserve. Rot Knights are very good against Kislev. And probably you can consider one Plague Ogre, but we need to get a little bit more utility in this army. So Furies are good. You know, I think a Fury or two to chase things down and, you know, assist key fights is also nice. Probably cut one Pestigore and Angels of Decay. I think you do go Angels of Decay in this matchup, so we need to fine tune a little bit. So we can cut you, and then we can get a basic Nurgling. Angels of Decay are really nice against Kislev. Against any, like, Kislev players have a hard on for using like the double Frostform these days, and then Katarine on a sled is also very strong. So having that is very, very good. Very, very good. Yeah, Rot Knights will counter most of their heavy cav, and Noxbringer will counter the ranged, and we'll get like a single Pesty in the starting army too. Yeah. But this kind of style, I like it a lot. I think it's pretty good here, so we will save this. So save it. And again, these builds aren't like the only option. What's cool about Nurgle is they have pretty diverse builds, I would say. Like, you could use a Chaos Lord here. You could use Tamercon. Festus probably wouldn't be so good. I think he gets bullied, but, you know, you have plenty of options. So this is going to be Nurgle versus Kislev. Yep, there's Nurgle versus Kislev. I think it'll work. It depends. Yeah, Frostworms. Frostworms, you can beat Frostworms with 2 Exalted Heroes of Nurgle, Angels of Decay, as well as Rot Knights. Oh, there's one key thing missing in this build. That's what we gotta stay on top of that. So probably cut you. We want Marauder Horsemen. I am what they call an idiot. So let's cut you. Get a Marauder Horseman. You need at least 2 Marauder Horsemen in this matchup. Yeah, this is the build, guys. This is the build. Right here. This is the sauce. Yeah, Marauder Horsemen are really good in this matchup. I think 2 is enough. Okay, save army preset, and that's going to be Nurgle versus Kislev, which should be down here somewhere. Yes, good, Anakin. Good. All right, so the Nurgle mirror match is just a shit show. It's basically just like roulette. It's like who brought the better build. But like, do you guys want a Nurgle mirror match? Do you guys want the mirror match of Nurgle? Let me know. Is it going to happen? Are we doing this? Because in the Nurgle mirror match, I prefer to play mobility with the ranged and just try and, you know, win that way. It's so stupid. It's like, I guess we're doing it. I don't know. Are we doing it, guys? Yeah, we're doing the Nurgle mirror match, I guess. All right. So in the Nurgle mirror match, you go Noxbringer. You're going to want like a Chaos Lord on a Rot Beast. Rot or Die, and you cut these abilities. So like you want to be the one controlling the pace. Angels of Decay, Furies, you know, all this kind of stuff. So you can really bully here. So why are you not letting me bring these down here? As a matter of fact, double is very, very good. We can get a Sorcerer in the opening builds, and we're going to go Nurgle. It's pain. Yeah, it is pain. It is. So Rancid Visitations and Fleshy Abundance. We cut all this, and we're going to get you on a Chaos Steed. We're going to need to cut some abilities here, so we can cut Rot or Die. Okay, so you basically just like take your home objective and blast them to pieces with all of these units, right? And then you're going to want some Furies in reserve to just kind of play the game. Forsaken are going to be very nice for getting up, as well as Pestigores, very, very good unit. And like, I mean, you could bring some monstrous stuff like a Rot Knight or like a Plague. Yeah, probably bringing a Plague Ogre Grey Open is going to be a good idea. And yeah, something like along these lines, guys. Although I think we could just go double Nurgling here instead. Yeah, something like this. Angels of Decay, I mean, Rot Knights are kind of scary when your opponent brings them, but with 4 Horsemen, you should be able to kill them, and especially with some of these reinforcing elements. But you don't need. So the Nurgle lore passive is not good to bring if you go Elite, Shibu. Hey, good morning, Jack. How you doing, man? If you're going Elite, you do not want to bring the Children of Nurgle passive because it's just not worth it. Like, you get very minimal healing in an army like this. Typically, you bring that when you're going wider, right? So that's going to be Nurgle Mirror. Yeah. It's suffering, though. It's definitely suffering. Okay, so next up, we already did Slanesh earlier. Vampire Coast. Okay, Vampire Coast is fun. So do we have a build for Vampire Coast? Bomber mobs are one of your worst enemies. Nurgle versus Coast. I don't think we do. No, I don't think we do. All right, so against Vampire Coast, Festus is actually pretty good. I think he's a pretty nice choice. You know, he can bump and grind and really drain him out. And you can go Rancid and Stream, you know, go a little bit greedy with the spells. You want to keep Children of Nurgle. Front line here, we're going to go for Marauders. You know, Furies are really good here. They shut shit down. And 2 Hounds as well are pretty good for utility and like poking things. Forsaken are like gods here in this matchup. They're very, very good. And you're going to want a Plague Ogre Great Weapon to try and deal with some of the mass. So mobility is good. You know, get a couple of these guys. I think foot-based cultists are really good here. So we're going to kind of go with the old school. Although you are a little bit vulnerable to being bullied with this character composition. But like nobody uses Luther Harkin, right? Like nobody. So giant enemy crabs could be a problem, but you do have the Marauder Horsemen to try and drag them down. And if you want to be really cautious, you can bring Angels of Decay too, to make sure you don't lose to that. 2 Furies is probably adequate. And then in reserve, you can go Shielded Warrior in the opening build, or you can go Plague Bearer, but I don't hate like a Shielded Warrior. Like I think that's fine. So Shielded Warrior, throw a Nurgling in there. And yeah, the Plague Ogres should be able to help you, and the Angels of Decay dealing with like any big threats. Aside from that, you got the Furies. Noxbringer is actually kind of cool in this matchup. You can totally go Noxbringer, but I prefer to like put wider pressure down. And yeah, also I think like a Pesty or 2 is going to be pretty good, just in case they bring some Depth Guard in. Having a look, but Depth Guard you can like counter with your Cultists and Festus, like Mortis Engineing them, so it's not like the end of the world. And we can bring the Arwar Nurgling. Like I like this. You have plenty of tools for large between the Horsemen and you know your characters, and then Plague Ogres will help you grind down big targets. Angels of Decay will, if they go double crab, for example, like Celastra, double crab, Angels of Decay will shut that shit down. Like it'll give it a lot of trouble. Yeah, it's still dangerous though. Double crab could threaten this build, but with the Plague Ogres, the Angels, and the Horsemen, I think it's enough. So Nurgle versus Coast. So we're getting these sweet builds going, man. We're doing it. All right, so then last but not least, we are going to do Wood Elves. Hard matchup. Wood Elves are really good against Nurgle. Their shooting is good. Yeah, so you gotta watch out. You gotta play it nice and cautiously. So Nurgle into Wood Elves. So you're gonna go with the Nurgle Sorcerer, okay? You're gonna go with probably Stream of Corruption and Fleshy. So you just have a healing kit and a damage kit. And you cut these abilities, you go Rot Beast, and perfect. So you want a shielded front line, right? The shields must come. And this is definitely a Noxbringer matchup. Noxbringer is very good here. You're gonna want him. Mass Forsaken in reserve. Forsaken are very good against Wood Elves. They can rip apart a lot of the infantry units. I think Cultists are a nice piece in this matchup. They're hard to snipe. They can grind it out and do some serious work on the ground. Yeah, because the Great Weapons are a bit problematic. The Wood Elf Great Weapons are very, very nice. Chaos Knights, I think bringing a Chaos Knight in reserve is good, but not in the starting army. You could also even, honestly, just go Rot Knight in reserve, because Rot Knights at least have passive healing, and they actually don't struggle against... Hey, what's up, Jack? Welcome to the stream, dude. They don't struggle against Melkoth, so I actually don't hate the idea of like a Rot Knight in reserve. Chaos Knights used to be like all the hotness, but yeah, it's a little dodgy. All right, so you're going to want some Furies, and Pestigors, no, you don't know Pestigors in this matchup. Not so much. I think we could probably go double Marauder Horsemen in the starting army, just to get some objectives and have some battlefield presence. And yeah, I like that starting army. I think it's more or less fine. We could drop the Chevys on those guys. And Forsaken are your best bet for reinforcing unit. They trade really well into like all the Wood Elf infantry. So I think just having a million of those. No Angels of Decay in this matchup. Bile Trolls suck here. And do we just go another Chaos Knight? Maybe so. Yeah, Pensive Forsaken. Or you could even get a little like slippery Chosen of Nurgle in there, which is fun. Plague Ogres are a little bit too vulnerable to being shot down. And I think just in case they go Durthu, having a third Marauder Horseman is probably a good idea. Durthu's a wild card pick, but you know he can make an appearance every now and then. The Shielded Chosen are kind of a weird, like I'm gonna slip this in and maybe see if it can grind some value out for me unit. I think that can catch people off guard. And last but not least, we'll just probably throw a Poison Hound in there. Like something like this, probably what I would bring against Wood Elves these days. Noxbringer maybe something you cut, because if they go Stealth Archers, but if they go Glade Guard Starfire Shafts, you're going to be super grateful to have the Noxbringers. And if they try and snipe it using their Arrows of Kurnus, you have the Fleshy Abundance, so you can keep it alive. All right, so let's go ahead and do this, save that, and that's going to be Nurgle versus Wood Elves. Hey, I like that build. I think it's pretty good. So guys, that's it. Thank you all for watching our Nurgle guide. If you guys have any suggestions for like stuff you'd like to see in the future, if you like this format, like basically we break down the entire roster, which was what we did in the beginning, in case you guys joined late. And then we give you a build. So now we have a freaking, this is fun. Like now I have a Nurgle build for every single matchup. And I have a couple of variants. Like if there are map nuances, we have changes for that. And of course, I'll be improving this Nurgle guide as I play in tournaments with them and whatnot. But a lot of these builds are pretty proven. Some of them are, you know, experimental and we just made them tonight. But I think there's some good knowledge in here. Epidemius is really only good against, like, you can use him against Vampire Coast and against Greenskins and against Khorne. Vampire Counts would be good for him as well. Yeah, but he's very niche. In a competitive setting, I would probably bring other options. Yeah. So guys, thanks for joining. It was a lot of fun, man. I think this is a cool thing. Very chill, very low-key. And that's going to be it for tonight. So you guys take care of yourselves. And there's your Nurgle guide. So for all of you aspiring Plague Children out there, the video will be up on the Twitch channel. And we're going to be uploading this to YouTube as well sometime in the next few days. So, hey, Weeb, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. And I did just see your message before the stream, so I'll take a look at that. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you guys, man. That was super fun. See you around. Tomorrow we're going to be streaming Total War, I think. On, yeah, we'll be doing some Total War sweaty action tomorrow. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, guys. See you around. Take care of yourselves. And may Plague Father bless you. Not in real life, but in this game. And that's going to be it for today. Adios. Take care. Do widzenia. And yeah, Nurgle bless.